Welcome to Sacrilegious Discourse.
I'm husband.
And I'm wife.
Together, we're reading the Bible for the very first time.
We grew up without religion and wanted to know what all the fuss was about.
Well, what have we learned so far?
That God is a dick, and apparently some people believe in talking donkeys?
We're not trying to pass ourselves off as experts.
Nope, we're just reading the Bible for the first time and giving our first take reaction.
If you'd like to join us in this venture, you might consider starting at episode 1.
Otherwise, jump in wherever you like.
All right, let's go read the Bible.
Yeah, let's get to it. Husband!
Wife!
Guess what we're doing today?
Well, we're starting a new book of the Bible.
We are!
What is it?
It's what I like to call Ezekiel.
No.
Ezekiel.
Yes.
Okay.
That is correct.
EZK?
No.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're starting a new book of the Bible, which is Ezekiel.
Indeed. I kind of threw you off with that, yeah?
Yeah. So do you have anything to say before we get into this, or are we just hopping in?
Just want to let you know ahead of time up front.
Yeah?
I think this book is going to be fucking wild.
Wild, huh?
Wild.
I think that's the first time I've heard you use that descriptor for a book of the Bible. So.
I'm not saying good or bad, just wild.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm kind of excited now.
As well you should be.
All right. You ready to do this?
I am, yes.
Let's get into it.
Okie dokie. All right. So we are hopping into Ezekiel.
Oh.
Okay.
God.
Ezekiel chapter 1. See, the second that you tell me that something annoys you, I feel obligated.
I know you do.
To go with it.
I know you do. I don't even have to tell you. You just have to glean it for yourself.
For those keeping track at home, that was husband rolling his eyes at me, the sound thereof.
Also, the second I tell you not to do something is the second that you double down and do it harder and more.
Yes. And it's almost like you forget. It's like you don't even know me.
Well, sometimes I feel like I could have a rational conversation with you about it.
Like an adult one?
Yeah. But then that doesn't ever work out correctly.
Ever.
Yeah.
No. All right. So Ezekiel chapter 1 is about a prophet and his divine vision.
Let me guess. His name's Ezekiel?
Yeah. And he has a divine vision. Okay.
Okay.
And in the one that we're reading, the version that we're reading, it's subtitled Ezekiel's Vision of God. But in other versions, it's subtitled Ezekiel's Inaugural Vision.
Okay.
And so there's an argument about which fits better, I guess, even though the first verse refers to visions plural.
Okay.
So
all right.
That would, let you think that
strike that it's not just the first one.
It's not just the one.
Collection of.
Yeah. So before I get into reading this, I just wanted to tell us a little bit about who this guy is and what this book's about.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first 3 verses form a superscription of the book, and they contain the identity of the prophet as well as the time and place that the prophecy was received and delivered.
Okay.
Now, having read some of the notes, I would be less inclined to call this a prophecy and more a vision. But I'm just going to put that out there. You do with that as you will, and maybe we'll come back to that at the end, and you tell me what you think.
Okay. All right. Okay? Yeah.
There are 2 distinct introductions. Verse 1 is in first person, and it's where he introduces himself. Hey, yo, my name's Ezekiel. What up? Right?
Got it, yeah.
And then verses 2 and 3 are the only 2 verses in this entire book written in third person. It's like somebody interrupted and was like, oh, hey, here's the year and whatever.
Got it.
Okay.
Someone felt that was really important later on, probably.
Yeah, I think because there was some confusion in verse 1, the way he says it.
Okay.
So let's just start the book now, and then I'll pause as we go through.
Sounds good. Yeah.
All right. So Ezekiel chapter 1. In my 30th year, in the 4th month, on the 5th day, while I was among the exiles by the Kebar River, the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of God.
Okay.
Now, he says in this verse, in my 30th year.
Yeah.
But most translations say in the 30th year.
Of the exile?
Of what?
Right.
That's the question. Nobody
Yeah.
knows, like, are you saying the 30th year of your life, which this translation assumes?
Sure.
So they changed it to my 30th year. Or are you saying the 30th year of somebody's reign or the exile or like what?
Okay.
So that's why we're going to continue on and somebody clarifies.
Okay. Yeah.
So now we're starting verse 2 and then from there. Okay?
Sure.
On the 5th day of the month, it was the 5th year of the exile of King Joachim. The word of the Lord came to Ezekiel the priest, the son of Buzi, by the Kabar River in the land of the Babylonians. There the hand of the Lord was upon him.
So this sounds like he is one of the ones that got exiled earlier on and is out there in Babylon, right? Is that maybe correct?
That is actually 100% correct.
Okay.
And so now I'm going to read you a few notes about this with regard to placing it in time.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's been suggested from verse 1 where Ezekiel says in the 30th year, and we don't know if it's the 30th or my 30th.
Yeah.
It's been suggested that the date that he's citing corresponds to July 24th, 568 BCE. But that doesn't really fit.
Yeah.
Okay. So going forward, we have some notes that indicate Ezekiel was probably born sometime between 622 to 627.
Okay.
And thus likely grew up during the reform years of King Josiah. And King Josiah reigned from 640 to 609. Okay. So, and then he was born right in the middle of that.
Got it. Yeah.
So Ezekiel had already been in Babylon 5 years and was now 30 years old, the age at which he normally would have begun his priestly services in the temple in Jerusalem. But he's not in Jerusalem.
Right.
So
he's in exile.
He's in exile.
Okay.
Okay. And so then I've got a little timeline here. Okay.
Sure.
Just to put everything into context.
Yeah.
Okay. So in 640, Josiah takes the throne. He's king. Okay.
Okay.
Sometime between 627 and 622, Ezekiel is born.
Okay.
Okay. And then in 609, Josiah's son Jehoahaz is briefly named king, but he's replaced by Joachim at the order of Necho of Egypt.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Then in 605, Jerusalem was attacked and captives were taken to Babylon. Ezekiel's not in that group.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
In 598, Jeconiah becomes king.
Okay.
In 597, Zedekiah becomes king, and he was the final one.
Okay.
Okay. Jerusalem was attacked, treasure taken from the temple, and more captives taken to Babylon, including Ezekiel and his wife. Okay.
Got it. Well, wasn't you skipped one? I thought Joachim was right before Zedekiah.
Joachim and Jeconiah are the same person.
Okay. All right.
So,
Got
yeah.
it.
I didn't realize that until I was doing these notes, that one is the biblical name and one is the common name.
Okay.
But they're the same guy. So
it's
you're not
confusing
wrong.
because you said something about Joachim or Joaquin. Which one is it? The Joachim or Joaquin? Okay.
The one
so
with
you said something about him when you were talking about Ezekiel just a minute ago. So and then we skipped it as to like that was one of the people that they had exiled. So, I was just curious.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeconiah is Joaquin.
Okay.
Okay. And so he became king in 598, but that was real short.
Right.
Okay. And then so in 597, Zedekiah became king.
But it sounded like Ezekiel got exiled with Joaquin or Jeconiah.
No, I'm not there yet.
Okay.
No.
All right.
When Zedekiah became king, Jerusalem was attacked, treasure was taken from the temple, and more captives, this is the second wave,
Okay.
were taken to Babylon, and that wave included Ezekiel and his wife.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
And then in 593 is when Ezekiel has his vision.
Okay.
Okay. And then in 587, Jerusalem falls and almost everyone remaining in the kingdom was exiled. Zedekiah, the last king of Judah, is blinded and imprisoned.
Sure.
Okay. So we have a better sense of what's
Where
going on.
it is and what's going on. Right.
So the verse And verses 2 and 3, like I said, they're not Ezekiel's. They're an added interruption, and we don't know who did that.
Sure.
Okay?
Okay.
All right. So let me go back now, and we're going to just continue on.
Okay.
So we've read the first 3 verses and already had tons of notes, but I felt like it was important to understand how this all fit together.
Set the stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're getting into his vision. Ready?
I'm ready.
I looked and I saw a windstorm coming out of the north, an immense cloud with flashing lightning and surrounded by brilliant light. The center of the fire looked like glowing metal, and in the fire was what looked like 4 living creatures.
Whoa.
In appearance, their form was human, but each of them had 4 faces and 4 wings. What?
This guy needs to lay off the drugs.
Right?
Yeah.
Their legs were straight. Their feet were like those of a calf and gleamed like burnished bronze. Under their wings on their 4 sides, they had human hands. All 4 of them had faces and wings, and the wings of one touched the wings of another.
Okay.
Each one went straight ahead. They did not turn as they moved. Their faces looked like this. Each of the 4 had the face of a human being, and on the right side, each had the face of a lion, and on the left side, the face of an ox, and each also had the face of an eagle.
This is kind of crazy.
Right?
What the fuck is happening?
I don't know, but four people.
4-faced things flying at you.
4 people each had 4 faces.
Okay.
Okay?
And different animals. And man, this guy's on some good shit.
Right?
Yeah.
Such were their faces. They each had 2 wings spreading out upward, each wing touching that of the creature on either side, and each had 2 other wings covering its body.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Each one went straight ahead. Wherever the spirit would go, they would go without turning as they went. So they're like all together one unit.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
The appearance of the living creatures was like burning coals of fire or like torches. Fire moved back and forth among the creatures. It was bright and lightning flashed out of it.
Wow.
The creature.
It sounds like a storm.
It sounds like
Maybe.
something.
And drugs. It sounds like a storm and drugs.
A storm of drugs.
Maybe.
It's raining drugs over here.
Yeah.
The creature sped back and forth like flashes of lightning.
But you mean it's because they were lightning?
Probably. I was reading the notes and I was like, what is happening?
Right.
As I looked at the living creatures, I saw a wheel on the ground beside each creature with its 4 faces. This was the appearance and structure of the wheels. Okay, we're going to describe the wheels. Yes, are you ready for this?
I guess.
They sparkled like topaz.
Wow.
And all 4 looked alike.
Damn.
Each appeared to be made like a wheel intersecting a wheel.
Because everything touches in his visions, apparently.
They all
the
had-
wings and the wheels.
They have wheels within wheels.
And wings within wings.
As they moved, they
and
would...
faces within faces.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
it's all just combined.
It's so meta.
Yeah.
As they moved, they would go in any one of the 4 directions the creatures faced. The wheels did not change directions as the creatures went. Their rims were high and awesome.
they had the lift kits.
And all 4 rims were full of eyes all around.
What is wrong with this guy? What the fuck is going on? I'm a little bit confused. I'm not just a little bit confused. I'm like, what is happening here?
This is the Bible. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude, but what the everlasting fuck?
Yeah, no, this is crazy.
When the living creatures moved, the wheels beside them moved. And when the living creatures rose from the ground, the wheels also rose. Wherever the spirit would go, they would go. And the wheels would rise along with them. Because the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels.
Oh, Jesus Christ. We're talking about a living creature. There's been no mention of God yet. Like,
No, we're getting there.
What kind of vision is this?
We're getting there.
Oh my God.
When the creatures moved, they also moved. When the creatures stood still, they also stood still. And when the creatures rose from the ground, the wheels rose along with them.
So all the things move together, okay?
Because the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. It was in the wheels. Do you hear me?
Why is this in the Bible?
Just listen.
What the fuck is this?
Listen with an open heart. You have to open your heart, okay?
Okay.
Spread out above the heads of the living creatures was what looked like something like a vault.
A vault, huh?
Sparkling like crystal and awesome.
Because the topaz wheels with eyeballs wasn't awesome enough?
Now we've got a vault,
that was
made of
sparkling.
diamonds.
Okay.
Under the vault, their wings were stretched out one toward the other, and each had 2 wings covering its body. You know, you said that already.
Yeah, okay.
When the creatures moved, I heard the sound of their wings, like the roar of rushing waters, like the voice of the Almighty.
Oh.
Like the tumult of an army.
Okay, but don't you wonder how he heard the sound of the wings when they were touching each other the whole time?
I don't know how it works.
How did they wing? How did they do the wing shit?
I'm not magic.
While touching each other.
So I don't know. It's magic.
But it sounded like the Lord, huh?
It's in the Bible.
The wings sounded like the Lord? The Lord?
The word of the Lord.
The word of the Lord, yeah.
When they stood still, they lowered their wings. When there came a voice from the vault over their heads as they stood with lowered wings.
Oh.
Here we go. Ready?
I'm ready.
The voice, right?
This has got to be God.
Oh, I'm so excited.
This is one hell of a vision.
I told you that this book was going to
like,
be crazy.
Something's crazy. That's for sure.
Above the vault, over their heads, was what looked like a throne of lapis lazuli.
Oh, man.
And high above on the throne was a figure like that of a man.
Okay.
I saw that from what appeared to be his waist up, he looked like glowing metal.
Wow. Not in the image of man, but glowing metal. Okay.
As if full of fire.
And fire. Mm-hmm. Fire and metal. Okay.
And that from there down, he looked like fire, and brilliant light surrounded him, like the appearance of a rainbow in the clouds on a rainy day.
Maybe this guy looked at the sun too long. I don't know what's going on here, but this is craziness.
So was the radiance around him.
Okay.
This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord. So it's not the Lord, it's a likeness of the Lord. Because, you know, we can't see the Lord with our bare human little stupid puny eyeballs.
So there's a likeness of the Lord in the sky.
In a vault.
In a vault above crazy ass angels that with four heads and wheels that have topaz
eyeballs
and eyeballs in them or something. Okay.
When I saw it, I fell face down.
I suppose I might if I saw that.
And I heard the voice of one speaking.
Okay.
The end.
Oh, just
chapter 1. Yes.
This is our introduction to Ezekiel.
That's why I was like, this book is gonna be wild. Okay, now I have some notes.
Okay.
And I gotta read you these notes. Okay?
All right, yeah.
So this description where he says the appearance of the wheels and how they looked alike and the wheel was intersecting the wheel.
Yes.
This becomes the inspiration for the construction of the Ezekiel airship. And
what the fuck? Okay.
Yes.
What is happening?
Yes. We have to talk about this. This is a rabbit hole. And
sorry, guys.
I was like, we gotta get to this airship. Okay?
Okay.
The Ezekiel airship was an early experimental aircraft conceived, designed, and built by the Baptist minister Burrell Cannon. Of course, his name was Burrell. An experienced sawmill operator born in 1848 in Coffeyville, Mississippi.
Okay. All right.
Inspired by and named after the book of Ezekiel, the craft's design featured 4 wheel-within-a-wheel paddle wheels powered by a 4-cylinder gasoline engine. There are unverified claims that it was flown in 1902 in Pittsburgh, Texas, a year before the Wright Flyer flew at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. And that's a little personal because, you know, the Wright brothers came from Ohio.
Yeah.
So
right. In fact, our hometown, Dayton. Yeah.
In the presence of only a handful of witnesses, the aircraft is alleged to have flown approximately 160 feet at a height of between 10 and 12 feet. There is, of course, no physical physical evidence that such a flight ever took place, and most historians have generally discounted any claims that the airship ever flew.
Okay.
The original aircraft was destroyed in a storm near Texarkana en route to St. Louis for the 1904 World's Fair.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
Cannon had accepted a challenge extended by the organizers of the World's Fair, promising $100,000 back then.
Damn.
That would be equivalent to over $35 million today.
Yeah.
So they were offering that to anyone who could make a sustained controlled flight in St. Louis at that World Fair. And so it, got destroyed on the way.
Yeah.
And then in 1922, Cannon's original plans were destroyed in a fire.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
This all sounds very convenient.
Well, it's been reconstructed and is now in a museum in North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
So you can go see it.
Yeah.
Burrell Cannon has been described as a Renaissance man in an industrial age. Cannon had a strong command of engineering principles, and he held patents for 6 different inventions, including designs ranging from marine propellers to windmills to cameras. This guy was a tinkerer. He was a flim-flam man, in my opinion. He apparently spoke 8 different languages and did his preaching on the side before moving into tinkering and inventing.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So we've got that. That's he built that based on the description in the Bible.
Right.
And that it's a known thing. It's just a thing that we talk about. It's the Ezekiel airship,
I didn't know anything about it until just now.
The Ezekiel airship. But that's not all.
That was very modern compared to that's not anything to do with the Bible.
No, it just was a fun rabbit hole.
Okay, all right.
I got another one. Ready?
Okay.
Let's talk about the spaceships of Ezekiel.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a book called The Spaceships of Ezekiel, and it's a book by German engineer Joseph F. Blumrich, and it was published in 1974. And it's about a spaceship that was supposedly observed by the prophet Ezekiel as described in the book of Ezekiel in the Tanakh.
That's funny. I just was listening to a podcast where they were talking about Tucker Carlson. Actually, it was The Thinking Atheist. So I was listening to that podcast. Mm-hmm. And they were talking about how Tucker Carlson mentioned that Ezekiel saw a spaceship because they were talking about UFOs and God. Mm-hmm. I mean, and it was, anyway, apparently there's some thoughts that Ezekiel saw a UFO.
Well, this guy, Blumrich, he asserts that the account of Ezekiel in the Bible was not a description of a meeting with God and a prophetic vision, but one of several encounters with ancient astronauts in a shuttlecraft from another planet. Blumrich wrote it while working in NASA's Program Development Office.
Okay.
He worked for fucking NASA.
Yeah.
The book is rated 3.43 on Goodreads, but I couldn't get it from my library. I'd have to order a physical copy.
Right.
Because it's that.
So maybe what happened to Ezekiel is actually just like a close encounter. Is that is that a possibility?
Yeah.
Okay. Drugs and a close encounter?
Sure.
That's what I'm thinking anyway.
Now, question. We haven't heard the God-like image, whatever. We haven't heard him speak yet. That's in coming chapters.
Right. I'm excited about that.
But was this a vision or a prophecy?
I mean, it seems like a vision.
That's what I thought.
Like, this seems too crazy for a dream. Like, why would you tell anybody this dream?
Right?
That just sounds nuts. You would have to have seen this in order to, like, you would have to, if you... I don't know. You would have to have seen this. Because it's just too fucking nuts.
If I came home and I told you, honey, I saw this thing. Listen. And then I told you about it. You would look at me like I was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and you would call the men in white coats to come get me because you would be like, you done flipped your lid and gone too far.
And I wouldn't call the people to come get you, but I would definitely question.
You would be concerned.
What the hell is going on?
You would be like, your mental health has never been great. Have you finally lost your goddamn mind? And if we saw this together, we would both be like, what the fuck did we just see? Mm-hmm. And I don't think we would try to tell people because then we'd be
too crazy.
We'd be labeled as flim-flams ourselves.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'd want to find out what I saw. If I saw something, I'd be like, I saw something.
Like,
but then I'd be like, what the fuck was it? Because that can't be correct.
Remember when we saw zombies falling from the sky?
We saw lights.
Yeah.
We didn't see zombies.
Okay, but they were zombies.
They turned out to be zombies, which is a whole other story. But like, yeah, we saw lights that were like circling and then lining up, and it turned out that it was a place that was like 6 or 7 miles from us that was having skydiving.
It was like
nighttime.
It was Land of Illusion, right?
Yeah.
And they were they were doing a Halloween
skydiving thing with skydiving zombies with torches.
Yeah.
So that's what we saw.
But they had neglected to tell anybody, so everybody was like calling the police like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. Yeah.
What is happening?
Right.
Oh, just zombies falling out of the sky, no bigs.
Yeah.
Like, if I would have seen one of those, I'd have lost my shit.
But I'm more inclined to think that there is a explanation for it than not. So, me
and your brother, we were like, well, it's the end of the world, I guess. And you were running inside to go call the meteorology people to be like, okay, so a thing is happening.
Right.
What is it?
What is this?
Yeah.
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 So anyway, we got way off on topic on this one.
I mean, maybe not, though. Maybe Ezekiel was seeing some, skydiving zombies. It's just as likely.
Sure.
It's just as likely as what he's claiming he
saw. Or
saw.
some really rare, phenomenon, like weather phenomenon.
That's true.
That would be more likely in my mind.
That's what I think.
Because he kept referring to lightning, and I'm like, okay, so you saw something really weird,
and it made your eyes flash, which can happen. Like when you see a really bright lightning, and you can see like several different lightnings fork into each other.
Yeah.
Your eyes, it'll be like you just looked at the sun, and your eyes will
you will have
can't see
impressions
correctly.
of light and stuff like that are going to be there, and
you can't see correctly after that. Like that's happened to me before. So who knows?
I'm
what
thinking
the fuck?
really weird weather phenomenon. That's what I'm thinking happened here.
And
if anything happened at all, like if we're assuming that this actually happened and this just isn't all a lie,
right?
It was something weird weather phenomenon.
Yeah,
that's all.
I wonder if there's a way to like trace storms. Like
no,
that would
not from like 2,000 years ago.
I know. I'm just like, man, if we could like trace weather like that though, to find out what kind of shit was happening. Like I know you could track like meteor showers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing.
Right.
But not just lightning storms.
No, not just lightning storms.
I know. I'm thinking out loud. So
okay. All right.
I was just like, that would be cool to be like, no, this thing happened there, and that's what he saw.
No, but we can say what's more likely. Was it a weather phenomenon, or was it fucking what he described here?
A god.
The more likely is that it was a weather phenomenon. Because that's just that was just described to us here in the Bible.
That's weird.
That's fucking nutty.
It's weird. Like, what an odd configuration of items to smash together.
Yeah.
He's a weirdo.
I mean, he's probably been inundated. If he was going to be a prophet, he's probably been inundated.
No, he was going to be a minister. He got tapped to be a prophet.
Regardless, he's spent his whole life being in the religious world of that time. So he's been inundated with imagery and beliefs and things like that. And then he sees something weird, and he's going to attribute weird things to it.
Facts.
That's what I think probably, if this happened, is what happened. So anyway,
I agree with you, obviously.
Do you have any more little tidbits to share with us before we get out of here?
I kind of want to read that book, but that's about it.
But we're not going to read that book on air. So.
No. No.
So
I did add it to my Goodreads. I want to read this book list.
There you go. All right, so that was Ezekiel Chapter 1.
Sure as fuck was.
Which means we will be back tomorrow with...
Ezekiel Chapter 2.
Ezekiel Chapter 2. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Hey guys, husband here. Before we hop into the podcast, I just wanted to mention that we tried to do a live podcast on YouTube last night, and we did, but the audio quality is not the best, and I do want to apologize for that up front. Hopefully we will get this under control for the next episode. In the meantime, bear with us, and I apologize for the bad audio. So enjoy, or not.
Husband.
Wife.
Do you to know where the hell we are and how the fuck we got here.
Well, we just got done reading Ezekiel chapter 1, and holy fucking shit. I mean, what even was that crap?
It was a fever dream.
Fucking there was something in the sky
Like a spaceship
with 4 heads of different animals. There was wheels with eyeballs on it and
within wheels.
and lightning, and I think there might have been drugs involved. I'm really not sure what we read because it was crazy. It was fucking crazy.
This guy thinks it's God, so
Yeah. Well,
and they called it a prophecy, but I feel like it was more of a vision than a prophecy. And even vision, I think, is doing some heavy lifting there.
Yeah. No, I feel like the guy was just off his rocker, but
Mm-hmm.
that's just me.
Well, I think that this chapter we're going to get into is going to be like the follow up, and then God said.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
all right.
That's my impression.
Right.
I haven't read it yet.
Before we go on here, I do want to mention that we are doing this episode live on YouTube for one of our first times ever. We have done some dabbling in this field before, but
unsuccessfully.
I think this one is maybe going to be successful.
Is it going to
stick?
So
we'd love for you guys to join us on the next foray into this. Definitely get over to our YouTube channel and subscribe if you haven't already, so you can be informed when these things do go live. Generally, they're probably going to be around 9 or 10 o'clock at night on the weekdays, Eastern Standard Time. So anyway, that was Ezekiel chapter 1.
Sure as fuck was.
Which means that in our podcast today, we're getting into
Ezekiel chapter 2.
All right, let's do this.
Okie dokie. Okay, so we are jumping into chapter 2 of Ezekiel.
Okay.
After that crazy chapter 1, are you ready to go?
I am. Yeah, that was nutty, and now I'm ready to see what is going to follow that up because
well, dude fell prostrate on his face when he saw all that crazy shit happening in the sky.
As you might if you saw all that happening in the sky, because what he described was crazy.
Yes,
that was I'd be a little bit taken aback too. So,
well, he ended the previous chapter saying something like, "And then God spoke," or something like that. Something to that effect.
That's right. Oh, now God is getting ready to speak right now.
Yes. And right. I wanted to recap that a little bit because it starts off, he said to me.
Okay. So God said to Ezekiel.
Yes. He said to me, "Son of man, stand up on your feet, and I will speak to you." Okay. Whoa.
All right.
As he spoke, the Spirit came into me and raised me to my feet, and I heard him speaking to me.
Oh, okay.
From inside my ears.
So now God is embodying Ezekiel.
He's literally up in him.
Okay.
Okay.
And he was down on the ground.
Ezekiel was.
God had brought him to his feet. Okay.
Which is interesting because in the last chapter, Ezekiel was like, "I saw the face and it was cray." Yeah. And it's like, but you were laying face down. How did you see it? Did you see it before you went face down?
Yeah, so, I don't know.
That's just me being persnickety there.
Sure.
Sure. So
right.
All right. He said, "Son of man, I am sending you to the Israelites, to a rebellious nation that has rebelled against me," as rebels do.
Yeah. Wasn't he already with the Israelites? Like he was part of in the exile type deal?
Yeah, but he's saying that he's going to send him hither and yon. He wants Ezekiel to deliver this message to all of the Israelites that are in captivity, as well as all of the Israelites that have been scattered to the winds.
Got it.
Okay. Like there's some that are in Egypt, there's some that are still in Jerusalem, like the dregs, of society are still down there.
Yep.
So he's saying, "Go forth and say my message."
Okay. Yeah.
They and their ancestors have been in revolt against me to this very day. Because you're revolting. that was a wifeism.
I think revolt is a strong word, though. They were revolting in the sense that they were worshiping other gods that like not and
Okay.
worshiping other gods is even like a little bit too strong. I feel like.
Yeah, I think you're right. Revolting is the wrong verb. They were that would indicate that they actually gave a shit.
Right.
I don't think they did.
No, they're like whatever God can give me, whatever I'm gonna worship at it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm gonna ask it to give me the things that I need. I need
Sure.
rain. I need crops. I need not to die from somebody attacking me.
Mhm.
And so far, God is just doing the bad shit to me. So I'm just gonna worship something else because
Well, so and
he's
so
kind of a
said that if
dick,
I pray to this god over here, that brings the rain. So why not give that a try?
right?
You know,
Yeah,
like I think that revolt is the wrong word there.
I
I think you're
agree.
right.
I agree.
The people to whom this is God speaking still.
Okay, all
The
right.
people to whom I am sending you are obstinate and stubborn. I will give him that. They are. They are obstinate and stubborn.
Well, again, I'm gonna push back a little bit there
Okay.
because when we've discussed it in the past,
Mhm.
we've mentioned that they don't even really feel like they care that much, right? Like they
Mhm.
aren't that affected by this god because they have all these other gods. There's
They
lots of shit
clearly
going on in their
they
lives.
clearly don't have a lot of fear of this
Right.
guy.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at.
Yeah.
They don't seem to fear this god with the amount of fear that he wants them to fear
And he
him with.
keeps saying, "Fear me," and they're like, "Meh."
Right? Yeah, they're like, well,
I mean, you're just as
maybe.
scary as any other, which
Right.
ain't much.
Sure.
Say to them, this is God again. Say
Yeah.
to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Say to them, I says.
Yeah. Yeah.
And whether they listen or fail to listen, for they are a rebellious people, they will know that a prophet has been among them.
Mm.
So that means that he's saying whatever the reception is, don't worry about that. That's not the main point here. The main point is that whatever their reaction is, you are delivering this message so that they can't say they later that they weren't told.
Eh, okay, I get that, but this the problem I have with this, and he's saying that they will know that the Lord sent him, right?
Mhm.
How?
Yeah, we talked about this with Jeremiah as well. There's all kinds of false prophets running around. And if you're living during that time, how the fuck are you supposed to tell one from the other? They both look like dudes living down the street from you.
Right, right.
Like
Yeah,
I don't get it. I literally don't get it.
I don't either. It doesn't make a lot of sense because you're supposed to believe this one guy who is one amongst many, as you said,
Mhm.
who may or may not be telling you the truth because there's other people saying different things.
And there's lots of politics happening too. Like with Jeremiah, we suspected that he was probably a double agent for Babylon.
Right.
So, I mean, how's a normal person supposed to know who's really speaking for God, who doesn't have politics in their back pocket, who is actually telling me? So, I think that these people are being unfairly judged, pretending for a minute that there even is a God judging them.
Sure, sure, and it could be easily solved if God would just come down and speak to the people.
The people instead of persons.
Right, he could solve this whole thing and, like, prove his existence, and there wouldn't be any question anymore.
Right.
Like, he always has to talk through these
This
prophets.
one person secluded, no witnesses.
Right?
Like,
Yeah.
that's not
Who's
suspicious.
apparently having a fever dream. Like,
Right.
and this isn't just exclusive to Ezekiel, really.
Right.
Like Moses, you could say the same thing. Like the shit that Moses did up on the mountain,
Yeah.
that was crazy.
Mhm.
That was nuts.
It really was.
And
Yep.
I I don't take a lot of stock in the message here because you're having to believe one person.
Mhm.
So
And this one person isn't any more believable than any of the other dudes running
yeah, no,
around town.
definitely.
And you, son of man, God continues,
Yeah.
do not be afraid of them or their words. Um, okay, I'm gonna push back. I know I keep pausing in between every sentence, but I
Right.
want to push back on that because Jeremiah got thrown into a goddamn pit
Right.
and was beat.
He
And
almost got killed.
prior to that, he was stuck
Well,
in a torture device
yeah.
in those stocks. So I'm sorry, you can be maybe a little bit afraid of them in their words. Maybe, okay, still go deliver the message, but
Sure.
it, I think it's perfectly natural to have a little bit of fear of these fucks.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Well,
they weren't exactly peaceful and loving.
and to be fair, I mean, when we did research into this, there's a good chance that Ezekiel got killed by Israelites.
You
Or
mean
I'm sorry, no, yeah,
Jeremiah?
Jeremiah,
Hmm.
got killed by
Got
Israelites.
stoned,
Right.
stoned to death.
So like
in Egypt.
God kept telling Jeremiah that he was going to have his back.
Yeah.
And that he was going to protect him, and he just needed to go out there and speak the word. But then, according to many accounts, Jeremiah died in the desert, running away from Babylon towards Egypt, when they thought he was a double agent, and they stoned him to death.
Yeah.
Like that is an actual one of the very highly thought possibilities, very plausible things that could have happened to Jeremiah. And I'm like, so God didn't protect him. God fucked him over.
Yeah.
Even though he was God's servant, according to the Bible.
Right.
According to Jeremiah.
Yeah.
So,
and Baruch and all the other dudes that took up the writing in his stead.
Yes. So again, Ezekiel has a good reason to be
to
question
happened,
this, in my opinion.
That happened after his time, I believe, or after this moment.
Yes.
So he wouldn't know that, but I'm here to say, having read this, it's okay if you're afraid, dude.
Right.
You know, I'm here to be that voice of reason.
Sure.
Don't believe God. It's okay if you're scared. Do not be afraid, though briars and thorns are all around you and you live among scorpions. I would be afraid. Sorry.
Right.
Do not be afraid of what they say or be terrified by them, though they are a rebellious people. I mean, I just think that's a terrible message. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say don't be afraid. I would say, hold firm to your message or be brave in spite of all the hardships you're going to endure in the coming days.
Sure.
Like, that would make better sense than even when they're like threatening your life and torturing you. Don't be afraid. Like, what? That's not something you can help, though.
No.
Like, bravery is not a lack of fear. Bravery is being scared and still doing the thing.
Yeah, totally.
So this is dumb. The whole message is dumb.
Yeah.
You must speak my words to them, continues God.
Right.
Whether they listen or fail to listen, for they are rebellious. Boy,
he likes that word in this chapter.
Yeah, he keeps repeating that.
They are very rebellious, apparently.
Are they rebellious? Did they rebel?
I think they rebelled.
They might be rebels.
Yep, they're pretty rebellious, those guys.
But you, son of man, listen to what I say to you. Do not rebel like that rebellious people.
Oh my God, this word.
Yeah.
Fuck.
If I wasn't sick of it,
they needed to pull out a goddamn thesaurus here.
Yes, they do. Open your mouth and eat what I give you. I mean, no thank you.
If someone asks you to open your mouth and eat what they give you, don't fucking do it. Unless you really want to.
You say no.
Don't do it.
Yeah, when you walk into a room and there's a little table and there's a little cake that says eat me and a little bottle that says drink me, we've all seen that story. We've all read that book. We know what's going to happen. Don't do it.
Right. Yeah.
Then I looked and I saw a hand stretched out to me. In it was a scroll which he unrolled before me. On both sides of it were written words of lament and mourning and woe.
Oh.
Low, woe, woe.
Low, woe, woe.
Lots of woe.
Yeah.
Woe unto them. The end.
So God is now handing Ezekiel a scroll?
It's a magic scroll. What? So, okay, I have a few notes. Let's see if I can add anything to clear up what's happening.
Okay. All right. Okay? Yeah.
So, as we know, Ezekiel was commanded and enabled to stand to
God
receive that message.
Ezekiel and made him stand. Sure.
And then Ezekiel, having been overwhelmed with the glorious vision in the previous chapter.
That was a
1,
glorious vision? That was a fucking terrifying vision.
Yeah,
what it was.
I totally agree with you. He's now strengthened and comforted because God is in him.
Okay, all right.
God's like, they're there, baby.
I guess it's all in how you view what you're seeing, right?
Yeah. So then Ezekiel is commissioned to declare to that rebellious house of Israel the terrible judgments that would very shortly be coming upon the whole land. And if they failed to repent, this is what is going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me stop you for just a second. Isn't Ezekiel? We went over some of this in the last chapter, I think, but isn't Ezekiel down in Babylon with the exiles that went there earlier on?
Yes. He was in the second wave of those scooped up by Babylon.
So he's assuming that they can still fix what's like this is him pitching his story.
Yes.
Trying to say we can still fix what's coming down the pike here.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
From afar, but This is the message.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I'm just trying to check here.
Nope, you got it.
Time frames and all that kind of shit is all fucked up.
And that's why I put that time frame together in the last chapter, because I was like, hang on. When was this?
Yeah.
I was so confused.
Right.
So yes, you have the right of it.
Okay. All right.
So with a gracious assurance to Ezekiel that God would be constantly with him while executing the difficult duties of his office, he gives him these words.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'll be there with you. Don't be afraid. And I'm like, dude, be afraid.
Be afraid.
Yeah. So I don't know if you noticed, but several times he called him Son of Man. And that is a new phrase. We haven't come across that before.
Okay.
In the Bible.
All right.
And it basically comes to, he's calling him mere human.
Sure.
So he's like, you mere, like basically he's like, ya worm, ya mountain,
Okay.
Callbacks to things that, he's called them before. And then when he says, I also wanted to say Son of Man. I don't know if you recall, but that's a phrase that is used in the Chronicles of Narnia. Oh. Aslan refers to the children as Son of Man and Daughter of Eve.
Got it. It's so much nicer there, though.
It is. It is. But it's still kind of...
Sure. No, it's an underhanded way of saying you are beneath me.
Yes.
And low.
Yes.
So
exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Right. Mere human. Anytime you call anybody mere anything,
right? Like
you're basically calling them small, worthless, and trash.
Now, I suppose we're supposed to take it in the sense that God is so much higher, right? Mm-hmm. And therefore everything to him is
mere,
low, and mere.
But I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I don't respect you just because you have, a doctor coat on or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Earn it. Yeah. Sorry.
No, I agree.
So at this time, the quote unquote children of Israel, as he has called them, they still had something of a kingdom in Judah and a temple in Jerusalem. So to go with, the timeline that you were presenting, those things had not been completely knocked over yet.
Got it.
Okay. So even so, many of them were scattered by the forced exiles under the Assyrians and the Babylonians. So don't forget the Assyrians had come in and done a little bit of damage too.
Right.
Before Babylon kicked their ass.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of upheaval going on in that region in general during this time frame. And because the Israelites were occupied by Egypt before Assyria and then Babylon, and there was just all kinds of shit going on.
Yeah, so Israel was just this little small thing, just looking back and forth like a tennis match between these three giant parties going, okay.
Right, yeah.
Could I just live?
Yeah.
And they were like, no.
It's just, and that's the part that bothers me. Sorry, guys. That these guys were taking all this in. It was just politics. It was the upheaval that was going on in that area at the time.
It was just a land grab, and it was just politics.
Right, and they're attributing a lot of God shit to all this.
Right, there was nothing holy about wanting to own all that land.
Right, it was just the way things were. People were conquering this group, and they were conquering the other groups, and that's how things were going.
They were fighting for resources. The end.
Yeah.
Right. So many of them were scattered. Blah 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 blah. And so, like I was telling you, God was saying to Ezekiel that the word was for all of them, regardless of where they live.
Got it.
So, okay. So then we go on, and Ezekiel is warned that he might suffer cruel treatment at the hands of his countrymen, which I was like,
for good reason, probably.
Pretty sure you will, my guy.
Based on history, yes.
But God is telling him, you still got to persevere, though, bro.
Sure.
But that's not the message I took. Like, that's the note of the apologist, is saying that he was told he must persevere no matter what. I will find you. And I'm like, no, what he said was, don't be afraid. Keep going. Don't be afraid.
Right.
That's not the same thing.
No, yeah. No, not at all.
It's not.
Because he
said
somewhat, like you could say the same thing early on in Jeremiah, that he was telling him to persevere and that he had his back. But ultimately, God did not have Jeremiah's back.
Exactly.
It was very much not that result at the end of it all.
Right, exactly. So whether they heeded his words or not, the people, the Israelites, it was still Ezekiel's duty to deliver that message. And he's also commanded to be fearless, resolute, and faithful in the discharge of his duties.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Ezekiel was not to share the stubborn attitude of the people. And I'm just like, no shit, really? Like, of course. I mean, you're giving him this message. Of course, he's not supposed to feel the same way as the people.
Right.
He would be the messenger of very unpleasant tidings, like don't shoot the messenger kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that will, by its nature, expose him to great persecution, just like Jeremiah.
Sure.
And he had to eat the scroll containing God's message.
Wait, what?
That's what actually, when he said, eat my words,
Oh.
that's why I said it's a magic scroll.
Oh.
He's telling him, eat it.
Well, hold on.
So that the word of God is literally inside him.
That is interesting because, okay, I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent.
I'm going to follow you because I think I know where you're going.
There is a legend, a Jewish legend about golems, where they eat a scroll, and then they are a protector
that brings them to life.
Yeah, that brings them to life, and then they are to do the bidding of whatever that person, their master, is to have them do, basically, right? Like I'm probably not getting that 100% correct.
No, but you have the general of it.
Essentially, that's the gist of it, and that is interesting. I'm very, very interested in the connection here between golems and this verse about Ezekiel.
Yeah,
is Ezekiel a fucking golem?
He might be. I don't know.
That is really, really
worth
intriguing.
looking into. Yeah. So he had to eat the scroll containing God's message, thereby signifying that he made God's message his own before giving it to others.
Got it.
Okay. And so, like I said, he would have the word of God literally within him. Now, I saw some apologists that were like, no, it wasn't literal. He didn't really have to eat a scroll. It was symbolic. It was a symbolic scroll, symbolic words, a symbolic eating, as we all should always eat the word of the Bible and be ravenous and hungry for the word of God within us. And I'm like,
okay, I mean,
that's fine. So then we don't have to take every word literally, bro. Because
right.
Pick a team, pick a side, pick a lane.
Yeah.
Where are we going with this?
Right.
So that pretty much wraps up chapter 2, unless you had anything else to add.
No, I do not. I just wanted to mention that our cat has been an asshole here right at the end of our podcast.
Yeah, you've been chasing her around.
She has been quite rambunctious and causing me all kinds of hell.
But we persevered. We did not let the voices of the country bring us to their rebellious ways.
Right.
We were brave in the face of this bad cat.
So all I'm going to say is that I am very interested in following up with some of this information about the golems and the eating of the words. That's intriguing to me, and I'm assuming we'll get into that in a Q&A at some point, probably.
I will see if I can find anything that even mentions that, and
we'll try to get into it because we want to.
Because we want to, that would be a Q&A Saturday,
right?
Not today, which is Tuesday.
Yeah, that'll be a deep dive for sure.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was Ezekiel chapter 2.
Sure as fuck was.
Which means that we'll be back tomorrow, but this one we will not be doing a live on YouTube because tomorrow is Tuesday. And well, that episode will release on Wednesday, but we record it on Tuesdays, and we will be doing our regular Discord episode for that day,
and that will be Ezekiel chapter 3.
Yep, and we'll see you guys then.
Bye.
All right. So that was
a mess.
Jesus, our cat was being a
little cunt burger. What the fuck, Dagny? Get your life together. What are you doing?
So, just for those of you who are here with us on this live, just to go over this with you, our cat has a regular interrupt our podcast routine where she uses the litter box. This time, twice actually.
Yeah, and we've tried to wait her out like we did this time.
Yeah,
and she will go back.
Not successfully. Yeah,
and she scratches for like 10 minutes.
It's ridiculous.
I'm like, it's buried. Stop.
Right. No, she's not even using the restroom. She's just doing it to fucking piss us off, I think.
Probably.
get our attention or something. She can't stand that we're not paying attention to her.
I
Apparently.
think it's because we're talking excitedly and loud, and she does tend to get worked up. Like if we're arguing and we raise our
Yes.
voices,
Yeah.
usually she attacks me
And it
because
probably
she's a daddy's
sounds a
girl.
little bit like that. But then she tries to get into a cabinet, and I have to open one up so that she doesn't try harder to do something else there. And then she comes over and meows by us and starts scratching at a box.
My God.
Oh.
What are you? Are you the Israelites?
I
think you are. You're a bad kitten.
Anyway,
I
that
love
was
you. I love you.
that was a
bad
fun
girl.
episode.
That was.
I mean, Ezekiel's kind of been fun.
Yeah.
A little bit here right off the bat.
I don't want to say too much because what if, we always get our hearts, we get our hopes up thinking this will be fun, this will be a good one. And then like 5 episodes in, we're like, never mind, it sucks like all the rest.
Well, that's true because they tend to get repetitive because they're written by a regular author. So it's hard to judge right off the bat. Like we're reading something new and seeing how it goes. So.
And new is cool.
But this one's got a lot of stuff to comment on and a lot of crazy shit happening. So I'm really enjoying what we're reading so far.
Insofar as it's the Bible and insofar as we're atheists and don't believe in God.
Yeah. So
caveat.
Just to mention this one more time before we slide on out of our live here. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our channel so you can catch these in the future. And if you haven't shared this with your friends, what the fuck are you doing? Go share it now. And
I mean, unless your friends, are crazy Christians.
I mean, they could maybe benefit from this too. This is with a caveat.
I'm just saying,
a really large caveat.
I'm just saying, like, I have some friends I would share it with, and some friends I would not.
No, for sure. I mean,
make the safe, wise choice, friends.
Right, for sure. But we hope you enjoyed this live presentation, and we hope you will come back for more. We'll probably be doing another live sometime this week. We may not do this for every episode, but
more often now that we seem to have gotten it to work.
Yeah, if this is, I mean, I got to download this and edit this still, but if this worked out well, we will probably be doing this fairly often. So thank you all for joining us on one of our maybe first successful live streams. And we
come join us on Discord and Tuesdays at 10.
Our Discord is an amazing community. If you guys aren't there already, please look it up and join us there because we have such a blast. And
they're so fun. There's like a regular crowd and they are just very welcoming and open. I still don't know what the fuck I'm doing over there. They always have to talk me in how to get into the fucking stage or room or what the fuck ever it is.
Yeah.
So they're just very warm, helpful, friendly.
And if you're looking for a good atheist community, I mean, it's a small one right now, but it is my favorite place to be.
It really is.
With regard to any social media community that we are involved in, our Discord channel is my favorite.
Me too.
And I have a blast over there. And I love talking with everybody that's over there. And we want more people to join because we have such a great time talking about things. So.
And it doesn't always stick to atheism sometimes. Or even just the chapter that we just read.
We were talking about Samsung washers the other day. So, I mean,
Were we?
I was.
I don't recall
with one of our people on there, Fern. So.
We often talk about movies and books.
Yeah.
That's more me than you.
Right. So anyway, thank you everybody for joining us here tonight. And if you watch this after tonight, thank you for picking up and listening to this. And we will see you the next time we do this. So bye.
Bye. Husband.
Wife.
Do you remember what happened yesterday and where the hell we are today?
Well, yesterday we got done reading Ezekiel Chapter 2, and I do have to start off by apologizing for the audio content in that. We are messing around with some live streaming tools that didn't work out very well yesterday, so...
You are sorry.
I am very sorry. It was not good. I think we have this rectified at some level today. So we're going to go forward from here, hoping that all this goes well. That being said, yesterday in Ezekiel chapter 2, Ezekiel started the chapter in the ground, in the dirt,
On the ground.
On the ground in the dirt.
Yeah.
And God like embodied him, and then he brought him to his feet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
that was after having showed him his magic car.
Yeah. Like, yeah. In chapter 1, there was all kinds of craziness. I mean, it was insane.
Wheels with eyes for days.
Right. But the part that really stood out to me in chapter 2 was that Ezekiel was given a scroll from God into his mouth that he then swallowed.
Yeah.
I guess.
I
don't know what, like, to me, this, like, I'm thinking Golem, right?
See,
like,
I couldn't find anything that verified that just on a cursory check.
Right, but that's like on a you know, very like just what I know of Jewish legends. It seemed very Golemish.
It did seem very folklore. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm intrigued as to what's going to come next.
Christian apologists, which I know we are not at the New Testament, so we're not supposed to even know about Christians yet.
Right.
But they fucking love Jeremiah, Lamentations, and this guy Ezekiel, or Easy Kyle as I like to call him. And you know, these whole prophecy things that these dudes do. They're like, these prophecies are awesome because then Jesus fulfilled them in the New Testament. So they're like in love with this shit.
Right.
And they say that it was a symbolic eating of God's word to have the living word inside you. So it wasn't like an actual scroll. It was more like a magic power up.
Okay. Okay. So this is like when Mario eats the mushroom or the star?
Yeah, or when you're in your like dungeon crawl games and you know you have to like bottle of health.
Right.
It's like that. Only it's a scroll and God's words are on it.
Sure.
You're not really eating it. You're just, you know, power up.
Right. I gotcha. All right. Well, anyway, that was Ezekiel chapter 2.
Sure as fuck was.
Which means that today we're going to be getting into
Ezekiel chapter 3.
All right, let's do this.
Okie dokie. All right, here we are jumping back into Easy Kyle chapter 3.
Ezekiel.
No, Easy K, baby.
Whatever.
Okay. So you remember where we left off, right? God's just chatting with him, sending him a real chill message.
Yeah.
And he ate that shit.
And he ate the scroll. Yeah. Right.
So we're starting out like mid-sentence again. Okay. And he said to me, so Ezekiel's like, anyways, God was talking to me and he goes.
Right.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
So now I'm God. Okay.
Okay.
Son of man, eat what is before you. Eat the scroll. Then go and speak to the people of Israel. Eat it, bitch. I'm sorry. I can't. Eat it. Oh shit.
This sounds like this is the Weird Al Yankovic song needs to be set to this chapter. Well, the eat me, is it eat it.
Yeah. Well, that and like I babysit a toddler and sometimes feeding him is traumatic and I'm always just like, one more bite, baby, one more bite. And I'm just picturing God. He's got this little baby spoon, but instead of saying just one more bite and then you can be done, it's so healthy for you, help you grow big, boy. Instead of saying all of that, he's like, eat it. Okay, sorry. Okay,
you're good.
I'm Ezekiel again now. Okay?
Ezekiel's been fun so far.
Yeah,
This is kind of fun.
I'm having fun with this weird shit.
Right.
So I opened up my fucking mouth and he gave me the scroll to eat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. I mean, because then
not? He says to me, son of man, eat the scroll I'm giving you and fill your stomach with it.
Okay. Yeah. Must be a big ass scroll.
It's so big. You don't know how big. I mean, he does not need to have a pickup truck with the nutsack hanging off the back. That's how big it is.
I see.
Yeah. So I ate it, and it tasted as sweet as honey in my mouth. Yeah, it did. He says to me then, son of man, Go now to the people of Israel and speak my words to them.
Now, keep in mind, we talked about this last time, but son of man is actually kind of a disparaging remark at Ezekiel, right?
Yeah, he's...
And not like a real disparaging remark, but like it's
he's not
basically
quite
placing him in order below God for sure.
Yeah, he's like not quite calling him a worm as he has in the past called his people worms, but he's definitely like, don't go thinking we're equals just because I'm yakking at you.
Right.
Like,
right.
you are definitely a mere human is what that translates to.
Right.
Mere human, you son of a bitch. You are not being sent to a people of obscure speech and strange language, but to the people of Israel, not to many peoples of obscure speech and strange language whose words you cannot understand. Are you following me?
So don't help the foreigners?
No.
What?
He will get there in a minute.
Oh.
Like, I've read notes on this, so I understand what he's saying is you've got a harder job. You're not going out to people who don't know what the message is and never saw you before.
Oh.
You are going to go speak to your own.
Okay.
Okay. And that's harder. Like, we personally know that from Jeremiah. He got tore up.
Right.
By speaking to his own.
No, he definitely did.
So,
but I mean, this guy ate a scroll, so he's probably good.
He's good.
You know?
He's got God inside him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. So God's saying, you're not going out to talk to people whose words you cannot understand. Surely if I had sent you to them, they would have listened to you. Now, see, I also read somewhere that the reason that is so is apparently people from other nations, they always revered prophets and magic men and like people of high stature that gave these, messages from on high. Like,
well, I imagine it was a little bit
from
like
other places.
Sure, it was a bit like a traveling show, right?
Well, yeah, I would imagine.
You've never heard this story before.
Yeah,
and they're like, "Wow, what's this all about?"
Yeah, you're magic. Cool.
I haven't heard of this god before. Let's go see. That's what Yahweh's about. Let's
do a god crawl. So he's like, that would have been easy. They would have listened to you. They would have been interested in what you had to say.
Sure.
But the people of Israel are not willing to listen to you because they are not willing to listen to me. For all the Israelites are hardened and obstinate. They are so fucking hard.
Jesus Christ.
Somebody told me to grow up once, and I was like, but why though?
Then you didn't, yeah.
Yeah, so. But why?
But doesn't God have the ability to soften and harden their hearts?
He has all the ability. He's got the magic hands, baby.
You would think.
He could harden it. He could soften it. He can make their hearts flaccid. He can make them erect.
Oh, my God.
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
For those keeping track at home, that was the sound of husband rolling his eyes at me.
Hardcore, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, very hard. But I will make you as unyielding and hardened as they are. Everybody gonna be hard up in here. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I will make your forehead like the hardest stone, harder than flint.
Wow.
You could bounce a quarter off that ass.
What is the point of making his forehead as hard as stone?
So that when they throw rocks at him, it bounces off. Duh.
Is that real?
I don't fucking know.
Okay. All right.
I don't know, because I have what's called a really high forehead. And so what that means is that my hairline is farther back. Mm-hmm. So like I was always made fun of in school for having a big ass forehead. And all I could think is if it was hard as flint, then I could have been maybe cool because I could have bounced shit off of it. Maybe then people wouldn't have made fun of me as much.
I guess.
Maybe. Who knows? Okay, God's still talking though. Mm-hmm. He's like, harder than flint. Okay?
Yeah.
Do not be afraid of them or terrified by them, though they are a rebellious people, which we know because we used that word 100 times last chapter.
Right, yeah.
And he said to me, continued Ezekiel, now God is talking again, son of man, you son of a bitch, listen carefully and take to heart all the words I speak to you. You know, the ones I made you fucking eat?
Yeah.
Go now to your people in exile and speak to them, bitches.
Okay.
Say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Whether they listen or fail to listen, don't worry about it.
Sure, because he made your head like flint.
Yeah, so. But he's like, that's beside, for the purposes of this conversation, Don't worry about their response. That's not what I'm here to tell you about. Okay. They might fucking hate you and stone you.
Your job is just to say it regardless.
Just say the words. No matter what they do, say the words. Okay.
Yeah.
So that I can check the box and be like, what? I told you.
Okay.
You got the message. That's not my fault.
Right.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Now we're back to Ezekiel talking.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Then the Spirit lifted me up again.
Wow.
And I heard behind me a loud rumbling sound as the glory of the Lord rose from the place where it was standing.
This must have been stormy season because there's a lot of storms. Like there's a lot of rumbling and lights in the sky and, you know, or he just really likes his drugs. I mean, there's one of those two things.
Why does it have to be either or?
Maybe it's both.
I'm going with both.
Okay.
If I guarantee you that if you took the right drugs and sat out in the middle of a storm watching,
you'd see some crazy shit.
Yeah. Watching the lightning and the clouds rolling over and hearing the thunder. Yeah. You too would probably see a fucking carriage with eyes all the way down. Okay. It was the sound of the wings of the living creatures, the cherubims.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
The weird, the four-headed monstrosities.
Four-winged, flying purple people eaters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was the sound of their wings brushing against each other and the sound of the wheels beside them. A loud rumbling sound. Dude was describing an engine before engines were invented.
It was. Yeah.
That's rumbly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
In a way.
Sure. Or thunder. I mean, you know,
right.
I'm just, you know.
I mean, half the time we're standing out on the porch and I'm like, oh, is that thunder? And you're like, no, it's a car. And then I'm like listening. I'm like, no, actually, it's a plane. Like, I can't tell the difference. It all sounds the fucking same.
Yeah.
The Spirit then lifted me up and took me away, and I went in bitterness and in the anger of my spirit with the strong hand of the Lord on me. I came to the exiles who lived at Tel Aviv near the Kabar River, and there, where they were living, I sat among them for 7 days, deeply distressed.
Okay.
All right, I got some notes about this before we carry on. Okay?
Yeah.
Because some of this wording is like, what?
Sure.
All right. So let me get down to these words. Okay. So remember that time I just now said he went to Tel Aviv?
Yes.
In some places it's Tel Aviv.
Okay.
It depends on what translation you're reading.
Sure.
But either way, this is Hebrew for the hill of ears of corn.
Okay.
But other translations say, no. It's spring mound, the hill during spring. So I'm like, no. It's the hill mound of corn ears in spring.
I see.
That's what it is.
Well, Tel Aviv is now the capital of Israel.
I'm just saying.
So I think I don't 100% quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that is correct.
That is a place. I don't know if it's the same place. This one that they were talking about is in Iraq. So I don't know if that translates to anything you're saying.
Not really, but
okay. Because I'm not familiar with any of those areas. Because I am an ignorant American. I'm just putting that out there. Sorry. Well,
I mean, it sounds like they're talking about a hill in this context. But
it's just
it might have been translated into a city name in Israel later. So I'm almost certain that it's a city in Israel.
Well, in all the other places...
at the very least.
In all the other places that I checked, it was Abib. But in the particular translation that we're actually reading from, it's Aviv. I was like, but I've heard of Tel Aviv.
Right.
So hang on. So, yeah. Okay. Also, where it says that he was like deeply distressed.
Yeah.
Like he sat there with those people.
Uh-huh.
Like he went over to them and he sat down and he was so distressed and sad.
Right.
It could also be astonished.
Okay.
Which is nothing like deeply distressed.
Right.
That's just a different interpretation.
Yeah, right.
So basically, again, as usual, we have no fucking idea what this word is.
Sure.
It could also be discontented, which is more distressed.
Right.
Or wretched, even, which is like hard distressed. Which, deeply distressed, wretched, a little discontented, or astonished.
Right. That's a large swing of possible emotions there, yeah.
Yeah, so we don't fucking know what he's feeling, what's happening.
He's feeling something. He's feeling a thing.
He's feeling it. He's in his feels, as the kids say.
Yeah.
Okay? So, just to make sure you're paying attention, the Spirit fucking lifted him up and then I guess put him down because he went and he is all pissed off. He went in bitterness and anger in his spirit. And he had the strong hand of the Lord on him, and he came to the exiles who lived in wherever on that hill, and he sat among them for 7 days, and he was either sad or astonished.
Got it.
Okay?
Yep.
All right, so that's where we're at as we continue on now.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
At the end of 7 days, the word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, mere human, I have made you a watchman for the people of Israel. So hear the word I speak and give them warning from me. Okay, now I don't know if you recall, I want to say it was like back in Isaiah or some shit. They talked about a watchman, like that were sentries, guards.
Right.
And I pointed out at the time that Harper, what's her name? Harper Lee?
Yes.
Who wrote To Kill a Mockingbird?
Right.
She had written a text that was never supposed to be published, but the second she died, them bitches went ahead and like used her name and published it. And it's called Go Set a Watchman.
Got it.
And there is a tie-in to this.
Right.
So,
I remember you talking about that.
Yeah. So just bringing it back.
Sure.
Got to play the hits.
Yep.
So, so God's saying to Ezekiel, I've made you a watchman for the people of Israel. Okay. So hear the word I speak and give them warning from me. I'm thinking he ate the word. Why does he have to keep hearing it? Like, isn't it glowing inside him?
But God told him what to say after he ate the words.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
Maybe the words were just to get him in the mood.
They were power up, just like I said. They weren't actual words. They were just a power up. They made him glow.
Yeah.
But they made him also mad and astonished or sad.
Maybe it could be a reference to him taking drugs.
And that's what I think.
I'm just saying.
I'm saying that's what I think.
It could be.
God's speaking. When I say to a wicked person, you will surely die, and you do not warn them or speak out to dissuade them from their evil ways in order to save their life, that wicked person will die for their sin, and I will hold you accountable for their blood.
Damn.
You better deliver that fucking message, because if you don't and they die, I'm holding you fucking responsible.
Is this why I get so many knocks on our doors over like people trying to spread the message of God and Christ and all that bullshit?
Because your blood is on their hands.
Fuck.
Yeah. Could you imagine like that?
Can we just like edit that part out of the Bible? Because I don't like getting all those fucking door knocks.
No, I don't either.
You know?
It's so invasive. Like, do not be a stranger and knock on my door. Like, that's the end of that sentence. But if we need to continue on, don't be a stranger and knock on my door and ask me about my relationship with God. Like, excuse me? I don't fucking know you.
Right.
Like, why would I ever talk to a stranger about my personal beliefs or lack thereof?
Yeah.
Of anything ever.
Right.
Like, I'll tell you about my poop. You know? I'll tell you, I had a hysterectomy. I don't have periods anymore. That is fucking awesome. I'll tell you that it's been ages since I've had my nails did, and I would really like to get that done.
Yeah.
Like, I will tell you all kinds of stuff that is personal.
But not God.
But not the God shit. You know, because whatever I say is the wrong answer. Like, if I say, yes, I've been saved or what the fuck ever, do you think that's going to make them go away?
You know what? Even if no, I don't. But even if you're religious, there's like, if it's the wrong religious, right?
They'll be like, but which one?
There's an implied judgment happening at that interaction, right? Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter unless you are the exact same denomination as them.
Right.
There is implied judgment happening when that happens.
Yeah.
You don't have the correct message no matter what, unless you are with us specifically.
Like, I didn't see you on Sunday, therefore your answer is probably no.
Right.
Even if it's yes, it's no.
Yeah.
I feel so offended by that. Like, it reminds me of, I haven't seen it yet, the movie Civil War that is like out in theaters now, and it's like causing a ruckus. I do want to see it, but there's like a particular scene in the trailer where, I forget the dude's name, Jesse something or other, in real life. I don't know his character in the movie. But anyway, he's standing scary in front of these journalists with his weapon, like about to fire on them. And they're like, whoa, we're journalists, we're Americans. And he's like, yeah, but what kind of Americans?
Right.
And like, that is like the scariest part of the whole movie. And it's like really spooky, apparently. Like, it really shook people.
Yeah.
And that's what it reminds me of. They're standing at my door with their weapon is not a gun. Their weapon is getting in my space and asking me personal invasive questions. And, you know, they're asking me, but what kind?
Right.
What kind are you? And I'm like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Eat my whole entire ass. Okay, God's talking now.
Okay.
Speaking of ass.
All right.
But if you do warn the wicked person and they do not turn from their wickedness or from their evil ways, they'll die for their sin, but you will have saved yourself. So don't worry about it.
So as long as you get that message, so as long as you get that message out, you're good.
You're good. You're golden.
You said the bit you're supposed to say.
Just here, I made some flyers. Go pass these out. That's it.
Right.
That's the whole job.
Okay, I think, if your damnation is on the line, I'd want an exact. I'd want them to spell out exactly what I'd have to do in order to not go to hell, right?
I need a roster to make sure I hit every single person that I'm supposed to hit. Right?
Yeah.
I need a good pencil that's going to last.
And the question is, though, does writing count, or do I have to tell them directly?
Right. What exactly?
What if I spread the message through an audiogram or something?
What if I just put up a poster in town?
Sure.
Then
does that count? What if I accidentally missed somebody because I was sick that day?
What if it's in the future and I just text them?
Right. Yeah.
What exactly? God, you're God. You can answer this. What counts as communication?
Sure.
Can I whisper it in their ear as I make sweet, sweet love to them? JK, he's not having any of the sex.
Can I use smoke signals?
Oh,
I mean,
Morse code.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. As long as you told them, right?
You didn't say
they had to understand it.
Right. That's the loophole. Okay. God's still talking. Again, when a righteous person turns from their righteousness and does evil, and I put a stumbling block before them, they will die. So look at this. Just like in Job, I'm going to make shit real hard for them. They can either trip over the stumbling block that I, God, am placing before them or not. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
They might trip over that shit that I put in front of them, but don't worry about it.
But that's him, they would say that's a test, right?
It's
a test of their loyalty to God and their
But why you got to test me? You already know. Is my question.
You would think.
You already know.
But
so what's the test for?
We go back and forth with that, though. That's one of those things that's always in the contradictions, right? Like, does God know everything or doesn't he?
Right.
Well, oftentimes he doesn't. But oftentimes he says he does. So
or he does and just enjoys it for shits and giggles.
And that, if my take on this God that we've been talking about throughout the Old Testament is that he just kind of gets off on fucking people over.
That's what it sounds like.
So that's just my take. But it feels that way because he's very happy to bring despair and death and destruction to people.
Yeah.
And he seems to enjoy doing that.
He's that kid in the backyard that tears the wings off flies. And I'm no fan of flies, but I ain't out there trying to torture them.
Right.
I might swat them and kill them fast, but I ain't trying to, cause them pain and laugh as they writhe on the ground.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So he's putting stumbling blocks and they'll die. Don't worry about it. Okay. Since you did not warn them, though, they will die for their sin. The righteous things that person did will not be remembered, and I will hold you accountable for their blood.
Wow.
So you could have been good your whole fucking life, but then you cussed real quick before you fell down and died.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
And then you're fucked.
And then you're fucked for life or afterlife.
Yeah.
And on top of that, Ezekiel gets to pay for it.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Just so you know.
Okay.
Okay. But if you do warn the righteous person not to sin and they do not sin, they will surely live because they took warning, and you will have saved yourself. So all the gold stars as long as you pass out the flyers.
Right.
Okay. All right. Back to Ezekiel. The hand of the Lord was on me there, and he said to me, "Get up and go out to the plain, and there I will speak to you."
This is a very physical relationship he has with God.
Right.
This is the most physical God has been with anybody thus far.
Yeah.
So it's intriguing.
I have a question though. If I'm super lazy, so I would be like, "You're talking to me now. Couldn't you just go ahead and talk? Why we got to walk to the plane? That's over there."
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't even like to get up and find the remote control for the TV.
Maybe God can't whisper. This is his way of whispering. He's like, go out where nobody can.
And then I can talk regular because I got this frog in my voice. All right. So he says, "Go out to the plain. I'm going to speak to you." So I, Ezekiel, got up and went out to the fucking plain.
Wait, God didn't help him get up this time?
No. Okay. No, he got up and went himself. Yeah.
That's rough.
That's a test, right?
Yeah.
Can you stand? Can you walk? Wait. I forgot to test these out with you before I charged you with this duty. And the glory of the Lord was standing there, just like he was over there, but now he's over
he's in the
here.
plane, yeah, sure.
yeah. Like the glory I had seen by the Kabar River, and I fell face down.
Okay.
You know, still, again, more.
Yep.
You know, fear
Right.
the Lord. Don't forget to have lots of fear.
Right.
Okay. Then the Spirit came to me and raised me to my feet. This time he picked me up.
Yeah. Right. Well, because he had gone to the plane, so that's why he couldn't help him get up before.
Yeah.
But now he went there so he can help him get up again.
Stand up, sit down, fight, fight, fight. It's a cheer, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So he spoke to me and he said, go shut yourself inside your fucking house. Go home.
Okay.
Get over there. Shut your door. Bar it. Lock it
I
up.
thought he was supposed to tell everybody.
No, not yet. Stay
God's
home.
word. Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
You will in a minute. Go home first.
Okay.
Okay. And you, son of man, you fucking son of a bitch.
Yeah.
You mere human. They will tie with ropes. You will be bound so that you cannot go out among the people.
What?
I will make your tongue stick to the roof of your mouth so that you will be silent and unable to rebuke them. For they are a rebellious people, as I've said multiple times.
Go home and get punished like crazy.
Yes. I think
What?
he's like what I tell the toddler that I babysit. You go sit on the couch and think about what you did.
But what did he do?
You go sit in your house and think about what I'm going to have you do.
I don't get it. Like, okay, anyway.
Okay, so there's this thing where when people need to fortify themselves before they take on a duty.
Yeah.
I said duty twice now. That they have to fortify, they have to cleanse themselves, they have to have silence and wash up and do all these special things. So I've read some notes that say that that's what this is about. He's saying, don't speak to anybody, and I'm going to tie your mouth shut so that you can't, so that you'll be physically cleansed out.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You won't have any input from people, and you won't be able to offer any input. Let my glow words, sparkle in your guts for a bit and work their way through your system.
Got it.
And then, when you're ready to take that giant dump,
yeah,
then 7 days later, I will let you talk go pass out my flyers.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
But when I speak to you, says God,
yeah,
I will open your mouth and you shall say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Whoever will listen, let them listen. And whoever will refuse, let them refuse. For they are a rebellious people. The end.
Okay.
You sons of bitches.
So, essentially this whole chapter was go spread my message or you'll be in trouble for not spreading my message.
But first go home.
But first go home.
And don't talk to anybody for a week.
Yeah.
Before you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So that's basically what this was about. Yeah. Just to, recap, this chapter contains more particular instructions to Ezekiel, and it begins with him repeating his appointment to the office.
Sure.
Okay. He is then informed that his commission is, just for now, just at this time, to the house of Israel exclusively. So he is going to send out later to speak to other people. But for now, just worry about Israel. Okay.
Got it. Yeah.
And God tells him that the countrymen will pay little regard to him. They're going to ignore him. They're going to make fun of him.
That seems to be the case for pretty much all the prophets.
Every prophet ever.
Right.
Yeah. And God's like, you got to persevere anyways. Mm-hmm. You got to get through this. Okay. And then God imbues Ezekiel with extraordinary courage to enable him to fearlessly declare to a disobedient people the whole counsel of God.
Okay.
Did you get that out of that he filled him up with glowy gold courage?
I think you could have extrapolated that from that.
I didn't take that.
Well, but like the giving him the scroll and eating the scroll and infusing that into himself, and then God,
I took that as like the spirit of the Lord, like you're taking in the magic words, like you have my spirit inside you.
Yeah.
I didn't take that as, and some of that stuff is courage. Courage.
Well, maybe that was the hardening of the head and stuff like that. Possibly.
Oh my God. Follow me here. He is totally making him a conglomeration of the Scarecrow and the Tin Woodman and the Cowardly Lion, because he's giving him that tin head, and he's making him have God word smarts, and then also he's giving him courage.
I see.
See?
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's giving them, he's like, I'm gonna Dorothy plus you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You're going to be an upgraded Dorothy.
Got
I'm
it.
so for this.
Yeah.
Okay. So after that, the prophet is carried by the spirit that animated the cherubim and the wheels. Remember, he heard the noise of the wings and he's like, the fuck is that?
Right.
It was, yeah. So that all carried him.
Like he rode on it?
No, it just carried him. Like it plucked him like an eagle kind of carries him, you know?
All right.
And then like dropped him or whatever.
Okay.
And it kind of carried him over near the people to a colony of his brethren. Okay.
Okay.
And that's where he went and was like sitting by them for 7 days, overwhelmed with astonishment.
Okay.
Or depressed and angry, or I don't know what the word is, whatever the right word is.
He was in the fields, right?
He was in the fields. That's right.
We're going back over the chapter and researching here. Is that like you're bringing up some of your notes? Okay.
Yeah. I'm that's why I said recapping.
Yeah.
I'm just recapping to make sure we understand exactly what all we read. Okay. So then he's warned of the awful importance of being faithful in his office, no matter what.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I don't care if they fucking throw rocks at your head. That's why I made it hard.
You always do what I say.
Do what I say. Fear the Lord. Obey me.
Right.
All I'm asking for is everything.
Yeah.
What?
That's it.
Okay. And so then he's commanded to go forth into the plain so that he can have a visible manifestation of the divine presence. So you were right. He had to go out on the plain so that he could like see it good.
Right.
Clearly. Kind of like if like you want to see the stars at night, you don't go into the city, you go out into the country, right?
Yeah, right.
You need that clear, you got to get out of the city.
Sure.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So he went out there and he's like, well, you're so shiny, dude. And he's again favored with a vision. And he, is told, here, I gave you gold words in your tummy. Now go home.
I feel like you could interpret this as like a using drugs ritual.
Yeah.
Like he ingested something. He's going out to the plains to like experience this experience.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks he got flown somewhere by a fucking angel with wheels. I mean,
don't forget the sound of the helicopter. Vroom,
right?
Vroom,
Yeah.
Vroom, vroom.
I mean,
yeah.
it sounds very, very drug induced to me.
And he's like, "Go home, bitch."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
No, totally. I agree with you. This dude was high. AF. I wonder who wrote this. I mean, it says that he wrote it, I guess, but
sure. I mean, we don't know.
No.
Right. So
no. I don't recall.
We can take our best guesses.
I don't recall in my intro if I got into that. So
I'm sure we'll cover that at some point.
We'll cover it at the end.
Yeah.
When I recap the whole book.
Right.
But that is it for this chapter.
All right. So that was Ezekiel chapter 3.
Sure as fuck was.
And thank you to everybody who joined us on the lives tonight. We had the YouTube going, we had the Twitch going, and we are on the Discord all at the same fucking time.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
You made it work.
If you guys want to join us on lives in the future, hop onto one of those platforms. We prefer Discord.
That's where we are every Tuesday, guys.
Yeah, so every Tuesday on Discord. We will be doing some lives on Twitch and YouTube probably separately in the future.
We're thinking like maybe on Mondays and Wednesdays.
So
I don't know. We don't know yet.
We got to work it out.
Yeah, but Discord is every Tuesday.
But go follow us on Twitch. Go follow us on YouTube. Go join our Discord. These are all places to get more acquainted and more involved with our podcast, and we'd love to have you there. So
you could also hop on our Patreon, and you don't have to be a member if you're just wanting info. And occasionally we put out Patreon only, but free episodes.
Right. And if we happen to disappear for a day or two, we usually put a notice on there saying, hey, we disappeared for a day or two. So,
yeah, like wife got sick again. Yeah. That is where we first update everybody.
Yeah, so Patreon, you don't even have to pay. We definitely appreciate it when you do, because it helps us run all these things that we're doing. But yeah, join us in all the places or any of the places. And yeah, just do those things. So again, that was Ezekiel chapter 3.
Sure as fuck was.
Which means that we will be back tomorrow with
Ezekiel chapter 4.
Okay, we'll see you then.
Bye. Husband.
Wife.
Do you remember what happened yesterday and where the hell we are today?
Well, yesterday started with Ezekiel being fed a scroll by God. And
God said, eat it.
Yeah. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And then God decided that he was going to turn Ezekiel's forehead into flint. Mm-hmm. And then Ezekiel spent some time flying around in a crazy four-headed angel carriage or something to go to different places.
With wheels that have eyes all the way down.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then God helped lift Ezekiel up in the plains, and he saw God in the plains. And then...
Go here, go there.
Yeah. And
Stand up, sit down.
And then God bound it, Ezekiel up in his house, like in chains or something, for 7 days or something.
Tied him up so he couldn't move.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy shit is going on, right? Like Ezekiel is really just, it's like,
it's nothing else.
You should take drugs to read this. Like this is like, I mean, this is like a trip. This is something's happening. This
is not like any of the books that we've read before.
Not at all.
It's fun, but in a why is this in the Bible kind of way.
Yeah, totally. I don't quite understand what is. I mean, I do kind of understand what's going on.
Yeah.
But holy shit, what is going on?
Yeah.
So, that being said, that was Ezekiel chapter 3.
Sure as fuck was.
Which means that today we're getting into...
Ezekiel chapter 4.
All right, let's do this.
Okie dokie. All right, so we are jumping into Ezekiel chapter 4.
Ezekiel.
It's Ezekiel.
Oh, my God.
Look, yesterday when I said it, several people said that they enjoyed it.
I know.
And by several people, I mean one person said that they enjoyed it.
Right, yeah.
So that's all I needed. Ezekiel chapter 4. And just to kind of catch us up on where we were, God had been telling him that he's going to have some tough road to hoe?
Yeah.
Ahead of him.
Sure.
So he's about to get going. Okay.
All right. Yeah.
I closed my window accidentally. Okay. Here I am. Sorry, nothing.
There you are.
Here I am. Okay, so God is talking. Ready?
I'm ready.
Now, son of man, you mere human.
Mere human, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Know your place. Take a block of clay and put it in front of you and draw the city of Jerusalem on it. Make a map,
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
He's setting him up. He's about to tell him, you're going to do some shit with that map that I'm telling you to do.
Is he going to have him smash it?
No.
Oh.
He's going to set up a game board.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
Then
it's like Monopoly, but Jerusalem. Is this like Jerusalem
yes,
Monopoly?
Yes. So draw the city on this clay thing and then lay siege to it. Okay.
Okay.
Erect siege works against it. Build a ramp up to it. Set up camps against it and put battering rams around it. Then take an iron pan, place it as an iron wall between you and the city, and turn your face toward it. It will be under siege, and you shall besiege it. This will be a sign to the people of Israel. Okay?
Okay. So this piece of clay that you're building.
Let me interrupt the broadcast here to give you a little bit of notes.
What are we're doing arts and crafts time now with God?
Yes, indeed we are.
Okay.
So following God's command, Ezekiel performs a sign act. Okay, this is he's about to remember when Jeremiah had to wear the yoke and it was as a sign?
Right.
So this is what he's having Ezekiel act out.
Okay.
He makes his prophets do these physical shows, these displays of here's a thing that's going to happen, and this is, kind of what it'll look like.
Right.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
So it's a symbolic representation of the siege of Jerusalem, and we're going to see the resulting famine that will come.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So Ezekiel enacts the siege of Jerusalem by first drawing a map on a clay tablet or brick.
Okay.
And then building a model of the siege apparatus, like God said, encircling the model city. And finally sets up an iron plate as a wall between the city and himself, facing the city to start the siege of it.
Okay.
Okay?
Sure.
So when he says block of clay, it's also in other translations referred to as a tablet, a tile, or a brick.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
So that's where we're at. Okay?
Got it. Yeah.
All right. So to continue on, God is still speaking, okay?
Uh-huh.
And he says... then lie on your left side and put the sin of the people of Israel upon yourself.
Okay.
And I'll explain what that means momentarily.
Sure.
Okay. You are to bear their sin for the number of days you lie on your side. Again, I'll explain that in a minute, okay?
Sure.
I have assigned you the same number of days as the years of their sin. So for every day that you're lying there, that represents 1 year that they were fuckers.
So if I'm going to base this on how much God doesn't like the Israelites and what they do, that guy's going to be laying there for quite a while.
He does. He is and he does. That is correct.
Okay.
I have assigned you the same number of days as the years of their sin. So for 390 days.
Holy shit.
That's over a year. You will bear the sin of the people of Israel. Now, hang on before you think it's done, because that's just Israel.
Okay.
After you have finished this, lie down again, this time on your right side, and bear the sin of the people of Judah. I have assigned you 40 days, a day for each year.
Oh, my God.
Right? Turn your face toward the siege of Jerusalem, and with bared arm prophesy against her. I will tie you up with ropes so that you cannot turn from one side to the other until you have finished the days of your siege.
Is there going to be somebody like feeding him? Like what's going to happen?
We'll get there in a minute.
Is like God going to be like floating manna into his mouth or something?
These are great questions, which are kind of but not really answered. Okay.
All right.
So you're asking great questions.
I'm just like, what is going? Like, first he's doing arts and crafts with a clay block, and now he's gonna like bind him up for over a year.
Yes.
A year and a half.
Yes.
Okay.
So let's talk about those 390 years and then those 40 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So many different explanations have been given for these 390 years. Like, where'd you pull that number from? Right.
Sure. Yeah.
It is thought to signify the 390 years of pre-siege punishment for Israel in the land. Okay.
Sure.
And that they pull that from Leviticus chapter 26.
And I'm assuming we're like Israel. We're talking about the other tribes that weren't really part of Judah, like the whole bit in like Kings and Chronicles where that part was separate, right?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm about to get to.
Got it.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah, you are right on track, buddy.
All right.
Okay, when you add the years of the reigns of the kings of Judah from Rehoboam to Zedekiah, as recorded in 1st and 2nd Kings, you have a total of 394 years. Now, since during 3 of the years of his reign, Rehoboam walked with God, according to 2nd Chronicles, you end up with a number very close to Ezekiel's 390 years. 391.
Okay.
You know?
All right.
So I guess he's cutting him slack by 1 day.
Got it.
So,
yeah.
However, the Greek text, the Septuagint, has 190 years.
Okay.
So
that's significantly different.
That is very different. And I don't know what the math is, like why.
Maybe somebody later went back and like actually did the math on the Kings and Chronicles and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we need to change this up.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Because it was originally written in Hebrew, not Greek.
Sure.
So yeah, that would be my thing.
Okay.
Now the 40 days signifies the 40 years of post-siege punishment for Judah in exile, and that comes from Numbers chapter 14.
See, I think he should have got more time for that because God didn't like them prior to that. That's why he was starting to punish them in the first place. So,
yeah.
But whatever. I guess he didn't officially punish them until the siege, right?
But Israel split it off earlier than Judah. So regardless of what the numbers are, Israel should get the larger number, whatever those numbers are.
No, I agree with that. I mean, based on the type of calculations we're making here with regard to lying on your side for a year and a half or whatever the fuck we're doing.
Exactly. So. Okay, so we're going to read further now. But I felt like I had to explain what those years were because in my notes, I was like, hang on.
Right.
And I had to like go back and, see what that was about.
Sure.
So, okay. So continuing on, God is talking to Ezekiel again. Okay.
All right.
Take wheat and barley, beans and lentils, millet and spelt. Put them in a storage jar and use them to make bread for yourself. You are to eat it during the 390 days that you lie on your side.
Motherfucker's going to eat nothing but bread?
Yes.
Okay.
Weigh out 20 shekels of food to eat each day and eat it at set times. Also measure out 1/6 of a hin of water and drink it at set times.
Okay, look. Look. So, okay, you're talking about a year and a half.
Yes.
Okay, 400 and some days worth of lying on your side. 430 days of lying on your side. Right, bound by God. Apparently, you cannot get up from there. Where are you storing? Like, what are you doing with all this food? Where is it?
Hang on.
How is that happening? I don't understand how this is going to work.
We're going to get there.
Are we?
We are.
Okay.
Kind of.
Does God like push it to him or something?
No, hang on.
Okay.
Hang on.
Okay. All right.
So to continue, eat the food as you would a loaf of barley bread. Bake it in the sight of the people using human excrement for fuel.
Oh, God.
The Lord said, in this way, the people of Israel will eat defiled food among the nations where I will drive them. Okay, so let's go to the notes a minute.
Sure,
okay?
sure.
So Ezekiel acts out the role of Jerusalem citizens eating meager rations of food to symbolize famine, even baking cakes over dung to emphasize the severity of what's to come.
Okay, yeah.
So, but let's talk about what the fuck is millet and spelt.
Well, millet is like a seed or like a...
Yeah, well, he named a whole bunch of things like beans and barley and all that shit. Sure. And then he said millet and spelt. Those were considered inferior kinds of wheat. Oh, okay. To make it last longer and to dole out the nutrients further.
I see.
Okay. Kind of like putting sawdust in your food.
Ugh,
Yeah, I've never done that, but that's a thing when people don't have a lot of choices to make the food go further.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So, let's talk about what the fuck is 20 shekels of food? Like, what even is that, right?
Yeah.
He said, measure that out.
Sure.
20 shekels is about 8 ounces, which is the ration of bread per person per day, which is to show the great scarcity of bread. So it's supposed to be like a bite or two of bread.
It's a representation of like the rations that the Israelites were dealing with or whatever?
That they're going to have.
Oh, that they're going to have.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Got it.
So he's like, you're basically going to be acting this out in front of them. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so let's talk about what is a sixth part of a hin. Sixth.
Yeah.
Sixth. I hate that word. I cannot say it. It's about 2/3 of a quart, which is the daily water ration that is going to symbolize their restricted access to water. Okay. All right. So he's going to have barely any water and only like a bite or two of bread every day
for a year
and a half.
Okay. Yeah.
And what's
going to happen to his, crap? Like when he takes his shit, what's going to happen?
We'll get there in a minute.
We are?
Well, okay. So remember he said, and bake it over human excrement, right?
Oh, so he's going to use his shit to cook.
Make the fire. Yeah. But we're going to talk more about that in a minute. For now, let's just talk about the food itself. Okay. All
right.
So scholars and apologists say that obviously he had to be able to move because he's been ordered to prepare this food and measure out these items for himself. So it's very likely that he only slept there at night on his side.
But it said he was bound. Like it said he was bound
during those time periods. Yes.
Okay.
So he either did that at night, like he slept outdoors, or he had set hours during the day that he had to perform this, and then he would, go back into his house because he was doing this outside in front of everybody. Oh, right. Okay. Because the whole point is that they see him because he's symbolizing to the people that this is what you guys are going to go through. Yeah. And so he has to be doing it in front of them. So he's probably either outside his house or like in the town square, what the fuck ever.
Got it.
Okay. So he's either doing it at night, which I don't think is right because I don't think as many people would have seen him. More likely he did it during the day for set hours, and then he would go back home and, prepare his measurements. Right. Okay. So remember, he was told to use human excrement. That would have been his poop. Yeah. As fuel for the fire to bake the bread, right? Okay. Yeah. So then we're going back to reading now, and Ezekiel's talking now. Okay. Sure. Then Ezekiel said, "Not so, sovereign Lord. I have never defiled myself. From my youth until now, I have never eaten anything found dead or torn by wild animals. No impure meat has ever entered my mouth." So he's like, the fuck? I'm not doing that. That's
right.
gross.
No, it sounds crazy.
You're ordering me to break your rules that have been like for centuries, things that we have followed. I don't think that's right. Do you want to rephrase, God?
But if you are truly a prophet and God is truly talking to you, do you really, like, this is one of those things where I questioned in the past, because earlier on in the Bible, if you questioned God, you got fucked.
Smoked as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a thing you wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So I have to wonder about these prophets that are like questioning
like
God.
Yesterday, 3 times in a row, you fell on your fucking face. You were so shocked at the sight of him. And today you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
You let this fucker put a scroll down your goddamn throat.
Right?
I mean, come on.
Scroll or something.
Something, yeah.
He told you to eat something. Yeah. So, I'm just telling you what it says. Okay?
Sure.
So I agree with you.
Yeah.
So then God says, very well, I will let you bake your bread over cow dung instead of human excrement.
Okay.
So he didn't, entirely say no poop. He was just like, fine. I won't make you use human poop, which would be part of the defilement.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
He then said to me, son of man, ye a mere fucking human.
Right, yeah.
I am about to cut off the food supply in Jerusalem. The people will eat rationed food in anxiety and drink rationed water in despair. For food and water will be scarce. They will be appalled at the sight of each other and will waste away because of their sin. The end.
I mean, we saw that this is technically happening. Like, this is supposed to be a prophecy prior to the Babylonian exile.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, he is in the early wave of the Babylonian exile before the final wave.
Right. But this is prior to the starvation and all that stuff that they described.
Yeah.
I think it was at the end of Jeremiah where we heard some of that.
Correct.
So, but, so I have to believe that this was actually written after. Right. And
not a prophecy. It's a backdated fill-in.
Right. Yeah. But it's just, it's really, this is really weird.
Yeah.
Like this whole book so far has been really, really fucking weird.
It's been fun though.
It has been fun. But like, I'm questioning the sanity of this person, Like Ezekiel does not seem like a sane human being.
He is not lending legitimacy to this at all.
No, I feel like this he must have been like the drug outcast. Like he was like, oh, there goes Ezekiel. He's weird. Yeah. he's on something, man. I don't know what it is.
Like, no wonder when Jeremiah finally came around later, they were like, no, fuck this. We've had enough of you fucking prophets. Y'all are full of shit, like literally.
Right, yeah. But Jeremiah would have been separate, though. Jeremiah was over in Jerusalem. This guy was over in Babylon, right?
That's true.
So, I mean, they wouldn't have been necessarily.
Except that if Jeremiah was a secret double agent for Babylon, he might have come up and talked with Ezekiel.
Sure.
Their paths might have crossed.
I'm sure that their paths probably did cross. But I think this guy is just like, I mean, this is some really, really nutty stuff happening.
No, I agree.
And the being bound for a year and a half thing, like if this was truly something that had happened, like that's just I can't even imagine being a person witnessing this thing happen. Like, what is wrong with this guy?
Well, remember, was it Isaiah that had to walk around naked? But then they were like, but he wasn't really naked. He was just in his sackcloth undies.
Right, but that was out in the desert and he was alone. Like that, at least that's the impression I got from that one.
I thought he had to walk around naked in town.
No, it was in the desert.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was in the desert.
I don't remember.
So,
well, let me tell you about fire a little bit.
Okay, sure.
Before we close out.
Yeah. Okay.
So barley cakes were often baked on stones, and that's coming straight from 1 Kings chapter 19. Heated with fire using a fuel of animal dung, so that's not unusual.
Okay.
Often mixed with straw. Animal dung, dried animal dung, was used as fuel in the East and still is in some places today.
Sure.
And it was not regarded as ritually unclean.
Right.
So that's why when God relented, he was like, okay.
He's not gonna make him break his laws, because he's like, I'm I'm godly. I don't want to break your laws.
Yeah, I don't want to be ungodly
Which I can
to prove
appreciate,
godness.
I guess. I can appreciate that, given that this is supposedly a godly, quote-unquote, godly man, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
if he's trying to show the people, you guys need to get right with God, breaking God's rule to display God's rule doesn't exactly lend him any credibility. Like, why would they listen to him? They could easily point to that and be like, you're not clean. Why the fuck would we listen to you?
But I am going to say this real quick, because, there's a lot of talk about how God has, like, he's unquestionably right about everything, right? He is the ultimate authority. You shall not question God's judgment, right?
Yeah.
And yet, he not only questioned God's judgment, but God changed his mind.
God relented.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
If you know best, why would you even contemplate changing your mind?
Right. And here's a good reason why God could have put his foot down and said, no, we are going to do it this way, and here's why. Okay?
Yeah.
Human waste was considered ritually unclean, which we've already talked about, and had to be buried outside the camp of the Israelites to prevent defilement. And that's straight from Deuteronomy chapter 23.
Sure.
However, during the siege to come, all cattle would be killed for food, so only human excrement would be available at that point for fuel.
Got it.
So, I honestly, I know it's gross and dumb and weird, but to make his point that, no, you're acting this out, this is what's going to be happening, I honestly feel like God should have put his foot down and said no, because
this is the way it's going to be.
Being unclean and being starvacious and cooking shit food over human shit, it's what's going to be.
Right.
Like, if you're trying to make the point, make the fucking point.
Right.
So I feel like that kind of didn't do either of them any favors. Right.
And moreover, I feel like the things earlier on in the Bible, like with Moses and things like that, there were some times when Moses questioned God. I felt like he had a better leg to stand on than this.
Yes.
But God didn't back down then.
Right.
So
but on this, God's like, meh, okay, you're right.
Right.
And it's like, really?
It's just the times that he picks to back down and the times he doesn't.
Yeah.
They don't really make any sense.
To smite or not to smite. Like,
right.
Who could fucking know?
Yeah, I don't get it. You got anything else to add for today? Or
no, that is it for this chapter.
All right. Well, that was Ezekiel chapter 4.
Sure as fuck was.
Which means that we'll be back tomorrow with
Ezekiel chapter 5.
Just an FYI before we get on out of here. This was done. We did this episode live on Twitch and on YouTube. And we are going to be doing that hypothetically going forward at 10:30 p.m. Eastern on Mondays and Wednesdays from now on, along with we're going to be doing our Tuesday lives on the Discord. So if you guys couldn't make the Discord, come join us on Twitch. I'll have links in the show notes and or on YouTube. We'll be doing lives on both of those. You can chat in those live chats there to follow along with us, and we'd love to have you at any of those live events. We personally like Discord best, so
that's usually where we stick around on Tuesdays. And that's the one that we have the time to give to stick around afterwards and chat. For sure.
So, but any of those are a great place to find us. And again, that was Ezekiel chapter 4, and we'll be back tomorrow with Ezekiel chapter 5.
That is correct.
And we'll see you then.
Yep. Bye. Husband.
Wife.
Do you know where the hell we are and how the hell we got here?
Well, we just got done reading Ezekiel chapter 4.
We sure as fuck did.
And in that chapter, Ezekiel was told by God to get a block of clay or something and build Jerusalem. So we were doing like arts and crafts time. And
making a miniature dollhouse?
Yeah. And then he had to get like a plate or something, or I don't know, some wall. He had to put up a wall between him and this clay Jerusalem, right? And then God was like, and then now you're going to lay on your side for 390 days.
Right.
And stare at it. And you're going to use human, shit to cook your food. And then, Ezekiel was like, but I don't, that's against your laws. And
gross.
I don't want to do that. And then God was like, fine, you can use cow dung. Fine, But you're still lying there for 390 days.
Yeah.
Or more. Actually, it was more because he's going to add on the time for Judah on top of the time for Israel or whatever. So.
And you only get 1 bite of bread per day, basically. And
and it's shitty bread, too.
Yeah. Shitty bread. And a bit of water.
All right. Anyway, that was the gist of Ezekiel chapter 4.
Yes.
Which means that today we're getting into
Ezekiel chapter 5.
All right. Let's do this.
Okie dokie. All right. We are jumping into Ezekiel chapter 5.
Ezekiel.
Ezekiel, babe. Okay,
right.
so
yep.
God is talking.
Is he?
Okay, yeah.
He's talking to Ezekiel?
Mm-hmm. This is a continuation from the last chapter where he was like, cook your shit.
Yeah, cook your shit on your shit.
Yeah.
Or on a cow shit.
And I'm going to tell you some things.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that's where we are now.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, son of man.
You mere human.
Yes, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Take a sharp sword and use it as a barber's razor to shave your head and your beard. I mean, wow. So,
so not only is he lying on his side for a year and a half and cooking his food over cow dung and staring at a clay model of Jerusalem through a pan or something. And now he has to shave with a sword?
With a sword.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Now, we know what shaving represents, right? The baldness. It was a sign of mourning or of great disgrace.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And shaving like that was forbidden to a priest like Ezekiel.
Oh,
because it was ordinarily, it meant the loss of priestly status and position.
Oh.
So,
okay.
Right. He's really given him what for,
Or he's gone off the complete deep end.
Yeah.
I mean, something's up.
Yeah. So he's telling him, shave all your shit.
Okay. Yeah.
Then he says,
With a sword.
Then take a set of scales and divide up the hair. Listen. Listen, I'm going to tell you what he's going to do with the divisions.
Does he get to make a pillow out of one of them? Because that would be nice.
Almost.
Okay.
Almost.
Right.
Actually, kind of, but not really.
Okay.
Kind of, but not really.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
You be the judge. Okay.
Right, yeah.
When the days of your siege come to an end, burn 1/3 of the hair inside the city.
Okay.
Take 1/3 and strike it with the sword all around the city and scatter 1/3 to the wind. For I will pursue them with a drawn sword. So each third represents some of the people. Some of them are going to die in the city.
Got it.
By fire and famine and whatever.
Sure, yeah.
Some are going to get killed with a sword. And some are just going to be scattered to the winds every which way.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, here's where we get to maybe a pillow.
Sure.
But take a few hairs and tuck them away in the folds of your garment. Again, take a few of these and throw them into the fire and burn them up.
What? Okay.
The fire will spread from there to all Israel.
I see.
So he does get to sew a couple into his little coat thing, his little whatever he's wearing.
But then he just takes so he's going to take a couple, and that's the remnant, I guess?
Yes, exactly. Good job.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
But then he's also going to take a couple and throw in the fire, and that's going to spread to the rest of this stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, he's basically, all his hair is representative of the people and what's going to happen to them.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I got it.
So something else though that's interesting is, I have to read this note because this is like kind of wowed me a little bit. Just in a like literary sense.
Can you imagine the smell that must have?
Yes, actually I can, because I did burn my hair accidentally once.
It does not smell good.
It smells horrendous. So me and this friend of mine, we were sitting in this restaurant, right? And it was like so quiet that when we talked to each other, like it sounded loud.
Right.
So we were both leaned across the table to each other, she and I.
To try to keep it a little quieter.
Yeah. So, we could kind of be like, keeping it between us and not like the staff of
the restaurant.
And we smelled this horrendous smell, and we were like, what the fuck is that? It was my fucking hair in the candle. In the fucking candle on the table. And I will never forget how horrible that smelled. I mean, it was rotten.
Yeah.
Why? Why does it smell like that?
I don't know.
Just
because, I mean, maybe it's meant to smell like that, so that way you know when you're on fire.
Right. Stop, drop, and roll, babes. Yeah. I wasn't on fire, but my hair was burning.
Right.
And it was not good.
Yeah.
So I had to go get a trim the next day to even my hair out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not good. Don't do it.
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay. So listen to this. Isaiah prophesied over a century before this time that Judah would be shaved by the razor of Assyria. That was in Isaiah chapter 7.
Okay.
So just from the literary circular way that's written, I appreciate that. If this was a book, I would be like, oh, nice.
Okay.
Right? Like, nice callback.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is not high literature, so it's annoying.
Right. Yeah. And you know, again, I'll wait to hear the final word on when this was all written, but much of the prophecy shit seems to have been written after the stuff has already happened.
Yeah.
So I don't really take a lot of stock in it. But
no, I totally agree with you. I wanted to read that because it's like, oh, okay, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So, all right. So that fire's going to spread, blah, blah, blah. Okay. This is what the sovereign Lord says. Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. This is Jerusalem, which I have set in the center of the nations with countries all around her. Yet in her wickedness, she has rebelled against my laws and decrees more than the nations and countries around her. She has rejected my laws. I
call bullshit on that because the countries around her, quote unquote, were sacrificing babies.
Okay, but here's the thing, and I'm not even a little bit trying to defend the sacrificing of babies.
Yeah.
What God is peeved about is not what they were up to or what they weren't up to.
Yeah.
They were worshiping their God as they were supposed to.
Right.
His people rejected him. That's what he's angry about. Right. Not the sacrificing of babies.
Again, I feel like if he would have just spoke up a couple of times here and there, other than sending this message through really unreliable fucking prophets, then it might have worked out a lot better for them, you know, deciding that God was real.
Right.
So I don't have a lot of empathy for God's plight here with regard to how he feels about the Israelites.
No, I totally agree with you. This kind of relates to the story of the prodigal son. Are you familiar with that story? Yeah. So it's the whole, but the good one was being good all the time. Why are you so happy that, you know, the one that was bad came home? This is kind of like the inverse of that in a way. Sure. But the people over there, they were doing what they were supposed to be doing. He wasn't mad at them. Those aren't his people. He doesn't give a fuck what they're doing.
They didn't know.
Yeah.
So
why would he care what other people are doing? Murdering babies, that's fine. Whatever, do that.
I mean, I guess that's fair-ish, but if
in canon, not in actual practice.
But like, we're talking about a God who hypothetically created all of the universe, all of the earth, all the people on it, all the things that live on it, everything.
Right.
And I still cannot wrap my head around why he only cares about this small group of people.
I cannot either.
It makes literally no sense to me.
No, I completely agree.
And it takes a lot of the believability out of the story. Like this doesn't track, man.
It doesn't make sense.
Right, like just on a meta or on a you know macro scale. Right. It does not make sense.
Right.
This all-powerful God is caring about, you know, 100,000 people.
Right.
Why? Why does he care about them more than the rest of everybody else? Right.
Like that, yeah. I don't get it either.
So that bothers me.
As well it should.
Yeah.
What bothers me is that God literally is pissed about his ego more than he's pissed about any babies anywhere being sacrificed to any god ever.
Right.
He doesn't give a fuck about those babies.
Yeah.
He's pissed because his little pride, his wiener got stepped on.
Yeah, because his people aren't worshiping him hard enough or whatever.
Or at all.
Yeah.
He's sad. He's in his feels.
Yeah, fuck him.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So he's talking about his precious people. His nation, has rejected my laws and has not followed my decrees. Wham, wham.
Yeah.
Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. You have been more unruly than the nations around you and have not followed my decrees or kept my laws. You have not even conformed to the standards of the nations around you.
Okay,
that's actually kind of a cool argument.
Right.
Because he's like, not only aren't you worshiping me, which is bad enough, but all these other little religions that you adopted, you're not even doing them right, you stupids.
Well, it sounds, I mean, like the way we've taken it is that they're kind of just like a mix match of all the little local-ish gods, and they're just like, whichever one, I don't care as long as it does the trick,
Yep. This is fine.
They're right in the like they've said even in this chapter, like they're right in the middle of all these different cultures, right? So obviously they're going to be influenced by these other people. It's natural to be influenced by surrounding cultures,
Well, yeah, and it's kind of good. Like it opens you up to learning about other ways.
Right.
And other lifestyles and other virtues, and makes you, question what you stand for, and, reaffirm maybe what you stand for, or adopt a broader view.
Yeah.
So, and God doesn't want that. He wants you to remain only static.
Right.
And,
well, and that could be part of the problem with regard to getting conquered and war things that are happening, because, there's a faction of the Israelites that wants them to be very closed down, right? That wants them to be very nationalistic and just within themselves.
Kind of like the Republicans today.
Right. And so maybe them not opening up to the other cultures was part of the problem as to why they were having all these warring issues.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. Like, you could look at that from that perspective and say maybe they didn't reach out to these other cultures enough.
Right.
Instead of focusing on God, maybe they should have focused on these other people.
Yeah.
So
who knows?
Who knows?
Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I myself am against you, Jerusalem, you fuckers, and I will inflict punishment on you in the sight of the nations.
Right.
So he's like, not only am I going to stab you, my own people, because I'm pissed at you, I'm going to do it in such a way as that it's on the stage.
Right. And they all get to see you and laugh at you and point at you. And
yeah. So you're going to die, but also be shamed.
Right.
Because as you're dying, shame is really what you're going to be worried about while you're starving to death and boiling your baby.
No, this is why God's an asshole, because this is really just him enjoying what he's doing.
Yeah.
Like, again, in canon, this God is enjoying the misery and pain that he's bringing to, quote unquote, his people.
I mean, that tracks, because the Christian Republican Party today, like, the thing that we say most about them is the cruelty is the point.
Right.
Yeah. And that tracks. Their God is where they get this from. Well, the cruelty is the point.
And even today, I think that a lot of the Christian culture is based on a large amount of self-loathing. Like they are brought to God through self-loathing. They are driven to these ideas through self-loathing, and that was very prominent in the Old Testament. Like I
mean, these people are told, you're a sinner, you suck. Before you were ever born, you were already trash and garbage.
Right.
Like, you've been told from the day that you're born that you are trash.
It's a very abusive relationship that they have with this God,
with their religion,
and what do people who have been abused do? They abuse other people.
Hurt people.
They hurt other people.
Yeah.
So I mean, the fact that we are dealing with what we deal with in the now, is not really that surprising, in my opinion.
Right. That's why I said it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
No, I'm totally with you.
Yep.
Because of all of your detestable idols, I will do to you what I have never done before and will never do again. I would call bullshit.
Do you believe that?
No, because it's happening right fucking now. So bullshit.
Well, I mean, he kind of said the same thing after the fucking flood, where he killed everybody.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna. That's what the rainbow was about, right?
Well, no, he didn't say he would never kill in large quantities. He just said he would never do it via flood.
I know.
I'm just saying, like it's such a loophole.
You could have read it in if you wanted to be, if you wanted to believe in a gracious God, you could have read it to say that he's never going to do it again. He
would never kill his people again.
I could have interpreted it that way if I wanted to, right?
But
obviously he does kill people in large quantities again, so you can't read it that way if you want to believe.
Right.
But it's just. He's
like, I'll never flood you again, but I'll do other stuff. And then he's like, okay. I'll never flood you, and I'll never make you like starve to death in your own city and boil your own children ever again.
Right.
I'll never do it again.
How many different scenarios do we have to come across before we're done with all the fucking killing you're going to do to us?
Right? Like, you're a dick, God. You're a dick.
Yeah.
You don't exist, but in this book, you're a dick, and therefore your followers are dicks.
Yeah.
So thanks for that.
Right.
Therefore, in your midst, parents will eat their children, and children will eat their parents.
Oh.
Okay, I'm for that, if I'm being honest.
I mean, if it were up to me, whether we get eaten or we eat our children, I'd rather they eat us.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
a good parent
I don't
would
think
hope.
it's good. It's not good any way around.
No, but a decent parent will hope that their child survives them.
Yeah.
Because
I just be like, knock me out first, man. You know?
Like yeah.
I don't want to be. I don't want to be awake for that shit.
Right.
Kill me quick.
Or how about like, okay, one of us is going to have to die to feed the other.
Right.
Like, turn around. I will off myself. You don't have to be part of it, but I want you to be able to survive another day.
Sure.
So that maybe help can come.
Right.
Yeah. Like
your kids obviously have a lot more future ahead of them than the parents do. So it makes more sense.
You're supposed to want your children to have a better, longer, healthier, happier life than you did.
Right.
Like each generation should want better for the next generation.
But again, they worship a God that is okay with letting them eat their children and vice versa.
Yeah.
So
the values of these people and the values of that God, I just can't.
Right. Yeah.
Whatever. I will inflict punishment on you, says God, and will scatter all your survivors to the winds. So, just like the hares.
Yeah.
Therefore, as surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, because you have defiled my sanctuary with all your vile images and detestable practices, I myself will shave you. I will not look on you with pity or spare you. A third of your people will die of the plague or perish by famine inside you. A third will fall by the sword outside your walls, and a third I will scatter to the winds and pursue with drawn sword.
Okay.
Then
he's gonna get nice again.
Yeah. Okay. My anger will cease and my wrath against them will subside. Yay! And I will be avenged.
Okay.
Yeah. After I kill, the majority of you, I'll be happy then.
Can you imagine if it was okay to be like, you don't worship me enough, so I'm just gonna kill you?
Yeah.
That's not okay. No.
Right?
No. We don't do that.
Right.
That's not good.
Murder isn't great, guys. Let's not.
No.
Yeah. And when I have spent my wrath on them, Jesus Christ, this language.
Yeah.
They will know that I, the Lord, have spoken in my zeal.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is making me so angry and just like, what the fuck is wrong with you people that you believe this and you pray to this?
Right.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I will make you a ruin and a reproach among the nations around you in the sight of all who pass by. You will be a reproach and a taunt, a warning and an object of horror to the nations around you when I inflict punishment on you in anger and in wrath and with stinging rebuke. I, the Lord, have spoken.
That little bit right there sounds a little bit more like the Jeremiah stuff that we were reading.
Yeah.
Like it's just there's a very normal.
I'ma getcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and not just Jeremiah, but Isaiah and whatever.
Yeah.
Like
it's the I'ma getcha of it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. When I shoot at you with my deadly and destructive arrows of famine, I will shoot to destroy you.
I love how we had to describe just how deadly and destructive the arrows were, because arrows wasn't enough.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
Okay.
It was not just arrows, but deadly ones and destructive ones.
Right.
Yeah. I will bring more and more famine upon you and cut off your supply of food. I will send famine and wild beasts against you, and they will leave you childless. You know what this reminds me of? When we were watching the Benedict Cumberbatch version of Sherlock, and Moriarty looks at him and says, I'll burn you. I'll burn the heart out of you.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what God, like, God is that evil character.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm picturing Moriarty saying this.
Yeah.
There's a problem with that.
No, and there's in my mind, I'm like, eventually we get to Jesus, right? and I'm really, really like based on my rudimentary understanding of what Jesus stands for, I'm really struggling with how we get there from here.
Yeah.
Like this just is not.
Like, how does Jesus not look at all of this and goes, I want nothing to do with that. Nope, I'm out.
Right. Yeah.
Like, why did he not run away and be like, oh no, I'm not son of that guy.
Right.
That guy's a dick.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Plague and bloodshed will sweep through you, and I will bring the sword against you. I, the Lord, have spoken. The end.
Has he now? He spoke. Okay.
He spoke.
I don't generally like it when he speaks.
No, because he's a dick.
He is very much a dick.
And he's mean.
Yes.
He's murdery and mean.
Yeah. The imagery that he said, like the imagery that goes on when he is speaking is so dark and just overwhelming with regard to how awful it is, Like,
I was watching YouTube reaction channel things, and this girl was reacting to TikToks of people with crazy exes.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And the crazy exes were saying some of this shit like, I hate you, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna get you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm like, you sound like a crazy person, God.
Well, I think that this is honestly this is the cause of a lot of the problems that we have in our society. This behavior is something that is just ingrained in one of the largest social structures we have, which is religion. And so it's been made to be accepted as a way of operating, and especially when men are given they're next to God, right? Like the men are in charge of the women. That's the way it's laid out through the Bible, through religion. Like that's not what progressives or we think or anything like that.
Right.
But that's through the Bible, and especially the more repressed Bible groups. The man is definitely in charge of the woman, right? So these behaviors are very much in line with how the OT God operates. It's all fire and brimstone. It's all, awful shit.
I hate you. I'm going to get back at you so hard.
Right.
You're going to die forever and ever.
And then us as people who worship this God or whatever are supposed to just come back and be okay with it. Much like the wife who gets abused from their husband that is treating their wife the same way, or the children or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's been societally accepted that that's an okay way to act for men because of this. Because of this. Right. And this is one of the biggest reasons why I feel we have to say these things.
We have to read this book because we have to know what the fuck we're talking about when we say the Bible is influencing our culture and our laws in America, and it's fucking problematic.
Yeah.
And this is why atheists are pissed. Christians, you keep asking why we're so mad and why we're so up in the Bible all the time. This is why.
Right. It stands for some really just god-awful shit. And it's not okay.
Right. Well,
you can decide that you're just spiritual or whatever. Like that's fine, and I'll probably accept you on your level and be okay with who you are because you accept people and you're not a complete asshole. And I'm fine with that to an extent, but it's still based on this same religion that is based on a fucking shitty ass God.
Right. I was reading in Reddit, there's like this subreddit about why do atheists read the Bible and why can't atheists be converted, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And like all of the answers were along the same line as, well, if your heart is hardened, then of course the Bible looks horrible and full of gibberish. You can't get the message. And they're like talking about how, you have to understand it from the whole perspective, blah, blah, blah. And, they're not able to. And I'm like, you are justifying all of this.
Well, and I call bullshit on that because we have people that we know that listen to our podcast. I know of people that I've listened to in interviews. They were very, very enveloped in religion and feeling the God feels and all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And they fully believed and even came down on atheists, in their previous life before they converted over to an atheist.
By reading the Bible.
By reading the Bible, by, something caught them up, something stopped them and made them do a little bit more research.
Right.
And that's how they became an atheist.
Right.
But they were in the same camp.
Mm-hmm.
They were in that same, boat that a lot of people who are shitty towards us
mm-hmm.
are right now.
Right.
And you can't tell them that they don't know what that's like. They do. I've talked to them. I know them.
Right.
And you and I, we don't know what it's like. We were never there. We were never fully
immersed in religion.
Right. Yeah. It was never a thing that we'd had, but we know people that for sure were.
Mm-hmm.
And they know exactly what it is to feel God's presence, and they know exactly what it is to be touched by God and all these things.
Yeah.
It's just that they stopped believing because they got tripped up, because there's a lot to get tripped up on.
Because rape and slavery and vengeance and murder and rape and cutting people up, dancing in their blood.
and if you let somebody stop telling you what to believe about the Bible and you try to learn it for yourself, you might actually end up closer to where we are than where you are now.
On top of feeling betrayed because you were tricked and lied to.
Sure. And I'm not even saying that you'll become an atheist.
Right.
We also know people that are very much not atheist, but have softened their view because they have chosen to research and learn about the Bible and Christianity and Judaism and all that.
Yeah.
So you have to be willing to not take someone's word that this is what this belief is.
Right.
And do the research yourself to get out of the cycle of shittiness.
Right.
And that's the only thing that's going to stop a lot of these behaviors that happen because of Christianity. Mostly it's Christianity at this point.
Yeah.
Judaism is a lot better with regard to understanding their flaws and doing research for the most part.
For the most part. And they're a lot more progressive for the most part.
For the most part.
Yeah.
So, it's the right-leaning Christian group that is in the United States that is the biggest problem. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you have anything else to add today? Or
I couldn't possibly.
Sorry, I know I went off on a little bit of a tangent there.
I think we both did.
Yeah, this angry God makes me angry.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say it.
Because
that's what it is.
It's not justified, and people justify it.
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem.
Right.
It's not just that this God feels like his anger is justifiable and that his actions based on that anger are justifiable. It's that people today justify it and use that same argument against other people. And it's not okay.
100%. So anyway, today was Ezekiel chapter 5.
Sure as fuck was.
And today's Friday, so that means that tomorrow we will be back with
Q&A Saturday.
And then I think we're well overdue for a Patreon episode.
Patreon.
So we'll probably be getting into that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then I'll get the weekly wrap up out, and then we'll be back on Monday with
Ezekiel Chapter 6.
All right, we'll see you guys then.
Bye. Husband.
Wife.
Guess what today is?
Well, it's a little late in the day, but today is Saturday, which means that we are doing our
Q&A Saturday.
That's right. And what do you got for us on the Q&A today?
Well, we didn't have any like specific questions, but we were kind of curious about around what time period was the book of Ezekiel written.
Yes, I am definitely curious about that.
Then we were also curious about golems, which we have discussed before.
But I think it was a Patreon
It was
episode,
a Patreon
maybe?
episode,
Okay.
so we're going to get into that a little bit today.
All right.
And then also, I had come across some interesting things about the 4 faces of God.
Okay.
And I feel like that will be interesting.
Does this relate to the 4-headed angel thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
All right. So are you ready to get on into this then?
I am.
All right, let's do it.
Okie dokie. All right, let's get into this Q&A Saturday and talk about some shit about Ezekiel.
Sounds good to me.
Are you excited?
I am excited.
I can tell. So we had a question about when the fuck this book was actually written.
Yes, I am very interested in that because it matters as to how this all relates to everything that we're talking about. So, yeah, I am very curious about this.
So the book itself indicates that the prophecies of Ezekiel occurred from about 593 to 571 BCE. Okay?
Right, which sounds like bullshit to me.
Right. Now, there are a minority of scholars who have argued that the book was written during widely divergent periods, such as in the 7th century and even as late as the 2nd century BCE.
Okay.
So
bits of it were written, well, they were all, okay, so the bits of it were written in the right possible time frame, but much of it was probably written in the latter years.
Added to, etc.
Right.
But most scholars accept that the main body of the book came from the 6th century BCE, which would have been the exact right time period.
Okay.
With the inclusion of some later additions and subtractions by redactors who remained loyal to the theological traditions of their master teacher.
Okay.
So
it concerns me that, well, I don't believe in prophecy.
Right.
So
no, me neither.
I would like to, I don't know. I have to believe that the exactness of the prophecies came at a later date.
Right.
Because it's too correct to sit well with me.
Like, what I think is that he probably wrote about things that were happening as they happened and then passed it on to his students, followers, whatever, acolytes, and they added to it through the years and went back and made it seem more prophetic than it actually was at the time.
I honestly think that dude had some sort of fever dream, and that's where, like, he wrote that down, like the fucking angel, 4-headed angel with wheels in the sky.
Yeah.
And all that crap. And then his followers probably were like, well, we could turn, like, it probably happened soon enough before the fall of Jerusalem that they were like, well, we could turn this into a prophecy.
Right, because it's so weird. Why not make it a magical hooey thing?
Sure. And there may have even been some things like brewing with regard to shit happening too, which might have like made him say some things that were like somewhat prophetic.
That's what I mean. Like, I think that he probably wrote some of it as it was happening, or was able to see some of the politics unfolding just like Jeremiah did, and be able to kind of see the writing on the wall in some of the stuff. But like, as far as the exactness, I'm positive that had to have been written later, because much like you, I do not believe in prophecy.
Right. So I'm sure you did a lot of research into this and you couldn't find any like solid information about when things were exactly written.
Everything that I just told you is what I found.
Got it.
So
that's a little disappointing.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with my gut here and say prophecies aren't real.
Oh, same. I mean, I like the minority of the scholars say that, it was started early on during when he lived, and then it was, added to and finished up as late as the 2nd century BCE.
Got it.
Like, that makes the most sense to me.
It really does. Yeah.
So I'm going to go with that and say that the majority of the scholars who say, no, it was written during that time period, I'm going to be like, no, you guys must secretly.
Something was written during that time period, and then it got added on to.
Yeah.
So.
I'm like, I guess most scholars are believers in magic then. And that's to me weird.
You do a lot of your research with apologists. I mean, not always, but like sometimes. So
I do my research to include apologist perspectives to know what to look for when I'm looking for facts. Because I don't know what I'm refuting until I see what they're saying. And that's how I build my questions.
Got it.
So it's not that I'm using them for research and reference. I'm using them as a starting point of what I'm going to bounce ideas off of.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I knew they were in the mix there somewhere.
They are, sure.
Yeah.
But no, where I got this from was the fact-based stuff that I researched.
Okay.
So that was not apologist speaking.
So we simply don't know the exact answer.
We simply don't know.
Okay.
That minority and majority of scholars, that is what's out there. That's the information available to us at this time.
Got it. Okay.
So the next topic was golems.
Yeah.
Now, we did a Patreon episode over this, and that came out on September 10th. The teaser is available in our regular feed if you wanted to go back and, just listen to that to get a feel for it.
Yeah, and of course, the full episode is still available on our Patreon, too. So.
Yep. So if you wanted to get the full dive of that, it was a really good episode.
Yeah.
I do remember enjoying it very much. So,
I think when we did it, we had just recently watched a movie or something about a golem.
Yes. That's right.
And that's why my thoughts went to golem, because in that show there was something about a scroll in their mouth.
Yeah.
So like that's where my thoughts went to because of that. So.
Yeah. So highly recommend that if you're on Patreon to go listen to that episode if you haven't already, or if you don't remember. And if you're not on Patreon, maybe consider doing the trial.
Yeah.
And
there's a free trial.
Binge a bunch of our Patreon episodes, including the one on golems.
Yeah. For sure.
So this won't be as in-depth. I'm just kind of going over a little bit, like glossing it.
Right,
okay.
Right. Yeah.
So a golem is an animated anthropomorphic being in Jewish folklore, which is created entirely from inanimate matter, usually clay or mud.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Typically, the word connotes the unfinished human being before God's eyes. So unfinished. It can also be my light form, raw material, embryonic or incomplete substance.
Okay.
Unsophisticated. And in modern Hebrew, the word golem is used to mean dumb, helpless, or pupa, meaning unfinished.
Got it. Okay.
Someone who is lethargic or in a stupor. And similarly, it is often used today as a metaphor for a mindless lunk, which I need to call people that.
Yeah.
You're a mindless lunk.
You damn golem.
Yeah. Or other entity that serves a man under controlled conditions, but is hostile to him in other circumstances.
Okay.
And we talked a little bit more about that in the Patreon episode.
Got it.
Where there's a little bit of Amelia Bedelia stupidity, compliance.
Got it. Right,
Careful
right.
what you wish for and that kind of thing.
Sure.
That happens with golems. You have to word it very carefully, et cetera, et cetera.
Understood, yeah.
And the effigies of Jewish folklore were brought to life by means of a charm or of a combination of letters forming a sacred word or one of the names of God. And the letters written on paper were either placed in the golem's mouth or fixed to its head.
And there you go.
Yeah.
See?
And that's why
I thought golem when Ezekiel fucking ate God's words.
Yeah.
On a scroll.
And then the letter's removal de-animates the golem.
Right.
So all we had to do was find Ezekiel and take the words back out of his mouth, and then that would be the end of that.
Yeah.
So I don't know that ever happened, unfortunately.
I have to wonder if that's some sort of a reference to, part like that. That's very much part of Jewish lore. Mm-hmm. So like that is a weird way to phrase something with regard to taking an order from God if you're not choosing to invoke that symbolism.
Yeah, right.
Right. So it's just,
we're going to come across this whole eating the word of God and the four-faced angel beings with many eyes things, again, in the book of Revelation. So,
Sure.
Just so you know, this is a thing that we'll see again.
Right.
And we'll be just as curious at that point, if not more so, because it never gets cleared up.
Right. Well, I mean, at that point, you've got, Christianity kind of counter to the whole ideology of Judaism. So,
exactly.
They're not necessarily going to believe that the eating of the words means the same thing that the Jewish people think.
Right.
So it's...
And that's what's making our research at this point, I should say my research at this point, a little more difficult, because we've reached the part of the Bible, we've reached the part of the Old Testament that has been borrowed from, stolen, and usurped by the Christian side, the New Testament.
Heavily.
Yeah, so I have to dig further to get past what the Christians are saying about this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's cute that you're saying that, but that's not what we're here to talk about.
And we are and we aren't.
Right. I mean, in some ways, yes, because that's why we're reading the Bible.
Yeah.
But in other ways, but we're not there at that part of the story yet.
We still want to understand the origins of this belief from the perspective of the people that believed it at the time.
Right.
And it's hard to do that through the filter of Christianity.
Yeah, like I'm trying to learn about Judaism right now. Thank you. Can you? We'll get to you, Christians.
Christians just step off for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes research very frustrating.
Right.
Like I'm trying to learn about what the Jewish people thought of this stuff, not you.
Right.
So let's talk about some examples of golems throughout history, because the Jewish people were not the only ones. Like they didn't have the end-all be-all of the golem life.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So the creation of life from clay is a birth theme that appears throughout world religions and mythologies. It can also be seen as one of the gods who craft humans out of early materials. So the word golem occurs only once in the Bible, in Psalm 139, verse 16. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. Okay?
Okay.
And then if you read Genesis chapter 2, verse 7.
Yeah.
Then the Lord formed a man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being.
Sure.
That's like the sole definition of a golem.
Right.
So there it is.
Yep.
Now the Quran states, we did create from a quintessence of clay. Man, we did create from a quintessence of clay.
Okay.
So it's very similar.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Quran is based off, it's all the same God.
They all come from the same place.
Right.
Yeah. So the Epic of Gilgamesh, which, the Bible steals from a lot, states that the goddess Aruru created humans out of clay.
Okay.
So that's interesting. Right. The Sumerian myth of Enki and Ninmah states that humans were fashioned from clay to serve the gods.
Okay.
The Babylonian epic of Atrahasis states that humans were created by Nintu from mixing clay with the blood of a sacrificed god. I would love to get some blood of a sacrificed god up in here.
Yeah,
that would be epic.
Yeah.
Okay, the Egyptian god Khnum is said to create human children from clay before placing them into their mother's womb.
Oh,
isn't that cute?
That's cute.
In Greek mythology, Prometheus, he's the guy that stole fire from the gods and gave it to humans because he liked us for some reason.
Right.
He molded men out of water and earth.
Okay.
And then also in Greek mythology, Prometheus molds a clay statue of Athena, the goddess of wisdom.
Okay.
And then Pandora, one more time from Greek mythology, was fashioned from clay.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
In Zoroastrian mythology,
which was that one that we learned about just recently, that was Babylonian area,
not Mesopotamia stuff. Right. Yeah. First, the primordial ox Gavavadata, and subsequently the primordial human Gaiamort are created from mud by the supreme deity Ahura Mazda.
Okay.
Okay.
Right, yeah. We
Now,
we have a Mazda.
we do have a Mazda. Yeah, we do. It's a good little car.
It is. It is.
Okay, so now we're going to get into some Asian stuff, okay?
Yeah.
According to Chinese mythology, Nuwa molded figures from the yellow earth, giving them life and the ability to bear children.
Okay.
In the Korean Sangut narrative, humans are created from red clay.
Okay.
In Vietnamese mythology, the Ngok Hoang and the 12 Ba Mai created people from clay.
Okay.
I'm sure I fucked all
I'm
of
sure
these
you
up.
did too, but
I'm doing my darndest, though.
Yeah,
I have a good heart. I mean well.
You do.
Central Asian mythology, including Altaic and Mongolian, have stories about how the god Olgan created the first man, Erlik, from clay floating on the surface of water.
Oh, okay.
So not just like clay, but like scum and clay.
Right, yeah.
You pun scum. Now, according to Hindu mythology, Parvati, the mother of Ganesh, created her son from clay and turned the clay into flesh and blood.
Okay.
Cute. Several African cultures hold that the human race was created from clay. Some stories include clay and skin or clay and wood, but they're all clay.
Got it.
And then in the Hawaiian tradition, the first man was composed of muddy water.
Okay.
But not the scum.
Got it. Yeah.
The Maori people believe that Tane Mahuta, god of the forest, created the first woman out of clay and breathed life into her. According to Norse legend, the god Thor, god of thunder.
Yeah.
Not the hot guy in the MCU, but...
I mean, whatever.
Right. That guy encounters a giant who was made from clay.
Okay.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
And according to the beliefs of some indigenous Americans, the Earth Maker formed the figure of many men and women, which he dried in the sun and into which he breathed life.
I see.
So every culture on the planet pretty much has a creation story for man that involves them being made out of the earth. Basically.
Early primitive humans are like, look, I can mold stuff with this. Oh, I bet that's how God did it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
I mean,
cool.
Call me shocked.
Right. Exactly. So we have some modern day artifices that are often referred to as golems in a different sense.
Okay.
Like artificial intelligence or robots or, anything like that.
Sure.
Similarly, Pinocchio.
Sure.
And zombies.
Okay. All right.
And, of course, Frankenstein's monster.
Mm-hmm.
The subtitle to that book is Or the Modern Prometheus.
Oh. Okay.
So.
Right.
There we go.
Direct reference. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is all I had to say about golems.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Like I said, for a more in-depth look at them, visit that Patreon episode.
Right. Okay. But I'm just happy that, they eat scrolls, and I'm like,
they do.
That happened.
They do
look how that happened in the things.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's cool.
Yep. And it's going to happen again. But I asked every question I could think of. I could not find any reference to Ezekiel being referred to as a golem. So once again...
You heard it here first.
Yeah, we came up... I say we, but really it was husband, came up with this nifty idea that nobody else apparently has talked about on the webs.
Well, I mean, it doesn't necessarily make it true. It's just... it's
an interesting notion, though.
I don't think there's any way to tell what is actually true about what they were writing about, because it was written so long ago and interpreted so many different ways that the original meaning has probably been lost... millennia ago.
Oh, sure.
So, I mean, I feel like if I thought it's a worthwhile thing to think, maybe.
Yeah, sure.
At least to pursue slightly.
Yeah, I'm not saying that, what you said is true or not true. I'm just saying it's interesting that I can't find anybody else having thought the same thing.
Sure.
That's the interesting thing to me, because what you said is like so obvious in retrospect.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I'm like, why didn't I think of that? So let's talk about the four faces of God.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And the reason that I'm referring to it that way, rather than as the angels who had four different faces, or whatever those winged beings were that Ezekiel claims to have seen.
Right. Yeah.
Is because later on in the book of Revelation, We're going to come back to this same vision that somebody else has. I think some guy named John, maybe.
Sure. But again, this is completely separate from, this is Old Testament versus New Testament.
Yes.
So,
but they're referred to as the four faces of God.
Sure.
Also because in Genesis in the early, and I should have cited this and I didn't because it just occurred to me. In the early chapters of Genesis, God is referred to as having two faces. I don't know if you recall
I remember that. Yeah.
So that's why everybody just calls it the four faces of God.
Okay. All right.
So specifically what we're referring to is Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 10. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Their faces looked like this. Each of the four had the face of a human being, and on the right side, each had the face of a lion, and on the left side, the face of an ox. Each also had the face of an eagle. Okay.
Okay.
So according to the book of Numbers, the encampment of Israel were divided into 4 divisions under their banner around the tabernacle.
Okay.
So do you remember that's when Moses was like telling everybody to line up and get in their different little camps or whatever?
Yeah.
And the divisions likely refer to an insignia, perhaps comparable to a family crest, unique to each tribe. Since Moses characterizes each tribe in a particular fashion in Deuteronomy chapter 33, it is likely that certain symbols were associated with each individual group.
Okay.
Okay. As the Israelites were commanded to encamp, each by his own standard with the ensign of their father's house. Like, do you remember all of that? Like, he's telling them, line up by your father.
Yeah, right.
Okay. The direction has been considered as implying that they possessed 3 varieties. So 3 different flags, like kind of like how here in America we'll have at the top of the flagpole is always the American flag.
Yeah.
Next might come the state flag, and then would come like a college flag or what the fuck ever.
Or whatever crazy conspiracy theory you follow.
Right. Like whatever interesting thing, but you always have the American flag and the state flag.
Sure.
And then all the other things.
Yep.
So that's what I'm referring to here when they possessed 3 varieties.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It would, number 1, be the great tribal standards, which served as rallying points for the 12 large clans of the people. And then number 2 would be the standards of the subdivided portions. And then 3 would be those of families or houses.
Got it.
Okay. So they had those similar to ours today.
Yeah.
Now, interestingly enough, the 4 divisions and their totemic symbols are the following. Reuben was standing to the south, and his flag, or according to Genesis chapter 29, verse 32, Leah became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She named him Reuben. And the name Reuben literally means, behold, a son.
Got it.
So he was on the south, and that would line up with the facing you of the 4-faced thing was man.
Okay. All right.
So Judah was on the east, and in Genesis 49, verse 9, Jacob says, "You are a lion's cub, Judah. You return from the prey, my son. Like a lion, he crouches and lies down. Like a lioness, who dares to rouse him?" And so that would put him on the east, which lines up with
the lion on the angel thing. Okay.
And then for Ephraim, we've got Genesis 33, chapter 33, verse 17. Moses says about Joseph, "In majesty, he is like a firstborn bull. His horns are the horns of a wild ox. With them, he will gore the nations, even those at the ends of the earth. Such are the 10,000s of Ephraim. Such are the thousands of Manasseh."
Okay.
So that's interesting. We've got those.
Right.
This one's a bit of a stretch, and I couldn't really
make it work.
Yes and no. Okay.
Yeah.
So Dan on the north. Okay.
Yeah.
We've got Genesis chapter 49, verse 17. Jacob says, "Dan will be a snake by the roadside, a viper along the path that bites the horse's heel so that its rider tumbles backward." Now, that's a snake. What we're missing is the eagle. Now, the flying eagle holding a serpent was their flag.
Oh.
And then later on, Jewish tradition says that the emblem of Dan was changed from a snake to a flying eagle.
Oh.
Which that matters because it's referred to that way in the book of Revelation.
Got it.
Vision.
Okay.
So
right.
Does it match? Does it not match?
Hypothetically, these four faces are to line up with the Israelites.
The four main
the
houses.
Protectors, basically. The way they were facing for protection and all that.
And the four main houses of Israel. Yeah. So the concept of the encampment of Israel around the tabernacle parallels the four living creatures around the throne. So
now this is interesting to me a little bit because at the time, hypothetically, of this being written, the other tribes of Israel were not necessarily still present,
right,
in the same form that they were,
right.
Like maybe I don't know how they felt about them back then, but definitely Judah had been the one that was taking over. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Again, this is all just interesting stuff I found. Like, that's neat. I'm not saying that any of this is actually true or that that's what they were thinking. I just thought it was an interesting theory out there that I couldn't not mention.
Yeah.
Since somebody had gone to the trouble of finding these verses and lining them up.
For sure.
And I did check to make sure that the verses actually were what they were and not just like
somebody telling you that.
Because I don't know the verses well enough to, just take them at their word.
Right.
Yeah. So
we have not memorized the Bible.
No. So I did actually look them up, FYI.
Okay.
So I went ahead and brought in, just for future reference so that we can be on the lookout, the verse referred to in the book of Revelation that also has this same vision. Okay.
Yeah.
It's Revelation chapter 4, verses 6b through 7. Okay. So the second half of verse 6.
Sure.
Okay. In the center around the throne were four living creatures, and they were covered with eyes in front and in back. The first living creature was like a lion. The second was like an ox. The third had a face like a man. The fourth was like a flying eagle.
Okay.
So.
Sure.
There it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So this, like I said, will come back, but not because he had the same visions probably so much as that the entire book was like, let's see what we can steal from all of those prophets that were, the important Jewish people.
Right. Yeah.
So that's all I have for today's Q&A.
Okay. You did mention something to me here earlier today that we're looking to do a Patreon episode tomorrow. So you mentioned, what are we thinking about doing a Patreon on?
I think we're going to talk about angels.
Okay.
Because that was going to be part of my Q&A. Like, what the fuck are these angelic things and, cherubim, seraphim? What the fuck?
Yeah.
But it's too big of a subject to just be part of a Q&A.
Sure. It's a whole episode.
It's a whole episode.
So if you were thinking about signing up for that trial membership of of our Patreon, maybe wait till tomorrow. Well, it'll still be good tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you can get started today.
Yeah. Whatever. And then you can get the Gollum episode and hear what we have to say about angels.
Yeah. Yeah. Get the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that sounds great. I'm looking forward to hearing about angels tomorrow. And after we get that done, I'll get the weekly wrap up out. And then we'll be back on Monday with
Ezekiel, or Easy Kyle, as I like to say, chapter 6.
All right. We'll see you then.
Bye. Husband.
Wife.
Do you know what today is?
Today is Sunday, which means that we are doing our
Patreon.
That's right. And what are we doing our Patreon episode on today?
Well, we're going to start out talking about angels, but then in a section I'm calling Fuck Angels, though, we're going to talk about Lamassu.
Okay. I'm not familiar with that.
No, you're not. I wasn't either. It's fun. You're going to be very happy.
Okay. Well,
because fuck angels.
Oh, got it. Yeah. So before we get into the episode, I do want to mention to our non-Patreon members here, or non-Patreon listeners here, that this is only a teaser for you. And we are doing a drive right now. Actually, if you go to our website, sacrilegiousdiscourse.com, We're trying to get to a level of $400 per month on our Patreon membership. Currently, we sit at $139. So we really need your help. There's membership levels starting as low as $2 a month that can get you started and get these Patreon episodes to you on a regular basis. There's even a free membership, but obviously that doesn't help us get to our goal.
But it does let you listen to other stuff that, you might not hear elsewhere.
For sure. Yeah. And with that being said, are you ready to get into this episode?
Yes, because fuck angels.
Let's do this.
Okie dokie. All right, so this is our Patreon episode, and we are going to talk about angels, and then we're going to say fuck angels, though.
Fuck angels.
But before we can fuck the angels...
I don't think we're going to be fucking the angels, but we're saying fuck angels.
We got to talk about what they are.
Okay.
Before we can fuck them.
Okay, sure.
Or say fuck them.
Right.
Or fuck them.
Whatever.
Whichever.
Fucking angels.
Okay, so in the Abrahamic religious traditions, which are Judaism, Christianity, and Islam,
right,
an angel is a heavenly, supernatural, or spiritual being, usually under service of a supreme deity, aka God.
Right.
Okay,
right,
that's your very generic what's an angel.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
The idea of angels in early Hebrew scripture as supernatural agents is absent. Okay.
Is it?
Yeah.
Really?
It's not really there a lot.
Well, I mean, like, I only say is it because, like, in Balaam's case, when the angel of God came down to block his path and things like that, it feels like there might be some reference to angels and cherubim and things like that. Well, and they left
a cherubim outside the Garden of Eden, too.
Right. So it feels like it's there, but maybe not in as much, not as much as in, like, the New Testament, maybe.
That and what they're talking about, I believe, is more the history stuff.
Okay. All right.
The Kings and Chronicles and things like that.
Sure.
We don't see a lot of angel activity. It's more like humans suck. They suck so hard.
Right.
They are doing all the bad.
It's true. Well, also, one of my favorite stories was when the angels came down and fucked the giants and then created the Nephilim.
That was
whatever.
The best.
No, wait. They didn't fuck the giants. They fucked humans, but then that created the Nephilim, which were the giants.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, those are the best.
That's fun.
Instead, what we typically saw was the Hebrew deity intervene in human affairs.
Sure.
Mostly by means of punishment.
Right.
Which we've commented on how much everything was like, I will let you see me only to the extent that I'm here to kill all of you.
Right.
Mwah, mwah, mwah. But only later in post-exilic and prophetic writings is the biblical deity conceptualized as distant and more merciful.
Okay.
His interventions replaced by the idea of angels.
Got it.
Okay. So, like, some of the angel-y stuff that we see went back and added and, like, built up a little bit more.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, even so, such angels still carry out the gruesome attributes of God and can be both benevolent and malevolent. So, good and bad.
Sure. Sure.
Just like God, right? Like willy-nilly.
I'd say God leans more towards the bad side.
Sure. Totally agree.
As do the angels that I've seen thus far.
It's not their fault. They're created by God. They are just an extension of him, basically.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So they got to do God's will.
Okay.
Because they basically are just little glittery pieces of him floating around.
Sure.
Okay. In Judaism, angels are understood as supernatural beings who stand by God in heaven.
Okay. All right.
They are strictly to be distinguished from God and are subordinate to him.
Got it.
That kind of goes against what I... Oh no! What happened?
Well, this is a special Patreon episode, actually. Which means that they need to go to Patreon and subscribe as a patron in order to listen to it.
Okay, well, I guess that we are going to go do that now.
Yeah, just head over to patreon.com/sacrilegious discourse, become a member for as low as $2 a month, and you'll have access to all these special things and goodies too. So, go do that.
So this was just a teaser.
Yeah, teaser.
Okay, just
Bye.
checking.
Okay,
Bye.
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 Hey wife,
I guess that's the end?
But husband, that's just sad.
It doesn't have to be. We are on lots of social media platforms like Twitter. Our handle there is sacrilegious_D.
For D's nuts.
Oh my God. Stop doing that. Anyway, we're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. There's a link to all of our social media sites at our website.
Ooh, we have a website?
Yeah, it's sacrilegiousdiscourse.com, where you can also find a link to our merch shop.
We have a merch shop?
Yep, we have podcast-themed clothing, mugs, notebooks, and more, as well as an atheist and science-themed products.
Wow, our fans should really go check that out right now.
Definitely. They can get in touch with us by sending an email to sacrilegiousdiscourse@gmail.com. But before they do that, we could really use some help.
Oh yeah? With what?
Well, it's not free running the podcast, and we need some financial support in order to get better equipment, which will free up time so we can concentrate on our podcast and our fans.
Okay, so what should they do?
Head over to patreon.com/sacrilegiousdiscourse and sign up as a contributor on our podcast. Supporters there receive additional bi-weekly episodes that we record just for our Patreon members for as little as $2 a month.
Also, we'd really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe on whatever platform you're using.
And Apple Podcast reviews help us out tremendously.
Like and subscribe. Leave an Apple review. Join us on Twitter. Support us on Patreon. That's a lot of instructions. Don't forget to say thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.